I want to see your fist up here. Just one. Tuko rada, hatunyanyaswi tena. Tuko rada, hatunyanyaswi tena. Wanasema low, kazi ya gani kublow holes kwa head na chest si kuprotect? Ni contest ya nani anangusha wengi, nani anajaza meli, nani atashinda hesi juu system ziko mesi. Alisema shoot to kill, bodies all over kwa screen. Kama mbaya ndio term boss tunamaliza generations. Ama pea lawyer uniform, pea judge uniform. Mkwe wote kwa street tushiko investigate alafu kill. Familia za victims ilipie bullets upate pay rise. Ama pathology wa gavana mocha wapate clients. Wewe na wewe si enforcer, wewe ni killer breed. Wewe ni killer breed. Wewe ni killer breed. Are you ready to celebrate freedom, dignity, and justice? Are you ready? Tuko rada, hatunyanyaswi tena. Tuko rada, hatunyanyaswi tena. Citizens na law no love. Land Cruiser zimegeuka husky ferry body bags. Forest grounds zimejaa body parts. Si watu ni animals kwa kila score. Pupu kushoot na kutoa bullets kwa throat. Alafu kwa media wanakuwa applauded. Hakuna light kwenye tunnel iko closed. Hakuna justice kwa years za case ziko post. Hakuna change kwa ati ya youth umekuwa stopped. Not with guns but with our voices tuta challenge your might too. Wewe na wewe si enforcer, wewe ni killer breed. Wewe ni killer breed. Wewe ni killer breed. Hii sasa ni yenyu Twende. Mko rada, msinyanyaswe tena. Mko rada, msinyanyaswe tena. Thank you. Yele 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 mama gocho. 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 Kwa paro kama walk dalawa nene. 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 Pipi winyo bagi ni gik pinyo maki kawan kato podo kila wamako badi kawan kato podo kila
wamako badi
kawan kato podo kila
wamako badi
kawan kato podo kila
wamako badi
kawan kato podo kila
wamako badi
kawan kato podo kila
wamako badi
kawan kato podo kila
wamako badi
Jungo kitingo chike
Malo malo.
Uo wa kitingo duondi
malo malo
Jungo kitingo chike
Malo malo.
Uo wa kitingo duondi
malo malo
Masira mobongo pingi to biro kadho kawan kato podo kila
tomako badi
kawan kato podo kila
wamako badi
kawan kato podo kila
wamako badi
Thank you. I'm gonna do the last piece of this set as we kick off the day. Are you ready for the last piece? Are you ready? Are you charged up? Great. Pay bills ina pay bills za MP, senator, governor, hana voters attack, attack. Sema kweli, heri anone ukiongezwa maji Kenyatta, BBI, BBY, unakosa na daily na azi hatom. Stop to remarry again, sawa wezi hawa wauaji, hawa walanguzi, hawa waporaji, ama tuzae watoi tupunguze deni. China mfuko yangu alichinja, hela sina, mali sina, lakini nita speed na vina. Hatufai kufuata mheshimiwa nunue lunch hao watowe mpango. 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 Sita stop, sita pause, sita close my eyes. Ni lies hazijaziwaiza mwananchi. Mkenya ana cry, Mkenya ana cry, Mkenya ana cry. Sita stop, sita pause, sita close my eyes. Ni lies hazijaziwaiza mwananchi. Mkenya ana cry, Mkenya ana cry, Mkenya ana cry. Sita stop, sita pause, sita close my eyes. Ni lies hazijaziwaiza mwananchi. Mkenya ana cry, Mkenya ana cry, Mkenya ana cry. Thank you very much. Javan the poet.
I am not trying to take over from Javan. Can we give Javan and the team a better applause? Thank you very much. Basically, three numbers summarizing
Linda.
to Korada, meaning we are vigilant. The second one is a call to rise up. The last one, which they have ended the presentation with, is on, the decrying and condemning the corruption, the misuse of power, which is responsible for the violation of human rights. An excellent presentation from Javan and the team, which has set the tone for the day. We now want to have the opening remarks to this day, and we are going to start with remarks from the chairperson of the Kenya National Commission on Human Rights, well known to us, advocate and friend, Roslyn Odede. Thank you so much, Madam Chair. Please come forward and take over from there. I think you can use my mic, although we are not sanitizing as we should. I don't want you to trust me, but try and use mine. Excellent, excellent, that's better. Take over, Madam Chair.
Thank you very much, Cyprian. Your Excellencies, guests present, ladies and gentlemen, good morning. Mukorada? Mukorada? Mutanyanyaswa tena? Hatunyanyaswi tena. Tuseme hivyo? Asanteni sana. It is indeed my honor and pleasure to be a part of this momentous occasion on the celebration of International Human Rights Day, a yearly event celebrated to mark the coming into force of the Universal Declaration of Human Rights. The theme for this year's celebrations, as we have been told, is dignity, freedom, and justice for all. What does the Universal Declaration of Human Rights mean to you? The celebrations of this day is important, not just for the country, but globally, as it serves to reaffirm the importance of human rights in the people's daily lives and the need for commitment by various duty bearers, us included, to promote and protect human rights. Allow me to begin my address by underscoring the importance of human rights as we mark the 75 years of coming into effect of the Universal Declaration of Human Rights. Human rights provides the foundation under which all basic needs are met. These include access to medicine, food and water, clothes, shelter, amongst others. The provision of these basic needs ensures that every human being has a baseline level of dignity. The world is full of human rights violations from time immemorial, and the essence of rights promotion and protection is to offer the required remedy to the vulnerable groups within the populations. These vulnerable groups include women, people with disabilities, children, the LGBTQ and I communities, amongst others. This is important as it ensures that no one is left behind and further provides them with safe spaces where they can freely express their opinions, stand up to societal abuses, have freedom to assemble, amongst others. And this is important as it provides a framework where everybody can be heard and in the end leads to finding of better solutions to various human rights violations. Human rights provides a universal standard that holds everyone to account, both state and non-state actors, with the state actors having a higher threshold for accountability for their various acts of omission and commission, considering that the state is the primary duty bearer on promotion and protection of human rights. Kenya, as a country, boasts of a robust constitution with a Bill of Rights under Chapter 4, which is arguably one of the most progressive in the world, with a broad range of civil, political rights, economic, social, and cultural rights, and group rights for vulnerable and marginalized groups being expressed therein. The Kenya National Commission on Human Rights has played a key role in advocating for the enabling laws and policies to operationalize the rights and fundamental freedoms espoused in our Constitution. In particular, progressive laws have been enacted on key human rights and fundamental freedoms, such as the freedom from torture, rights of persons who are detained, access to information, data protection, freedom of the media, and freedom of association, amongst others. The enactment of these laws have a bearing on better promotion and protection of human rights for the local population, and this brings the Universal Declaration of Human Rights closer home. As the world celebrates the 75 years after coming into force of the Universal Declaration on Human Rights, we as a commission pride ourselves in the various achievements that we have made, both in working as an institution and in working with other partners, both state and non-state, as the focus is on moving the country towards a human rights culture and state. The notable achievements in moving the country towards the human rights culture and state includes, amongst others, countrywide sensitization of members of the public on their rights and obligations, enhancing the capacity of public officers, both at the national and county level, on the human rights-based approach, training of law enforcement officers, human rights defenders, and county officials, amongst others, on human rights topical issues, including migrant rights, rights of people with disabilities, prevention of torture, cruel, inhuman, and degrading treatment, engagement in public forums on key human rights topical issues on migration and human rights, documentation of human rights violations. We would like to also stress at this point that the Commission has engaged with the county governments on the development of the bill on dignity. 2 counties have actually enacted laws on dignity, and this is crucial because dignity is one of the key themes we are celebrating today. And we continue to engage county governments to ensure that the bills on dignity are enacted. These bills will ensure that the ECOSOC rights are provided to all citizens so that everyone is able to live a life of dignity and no one is left behind in service provision. Finally, the role of better promotion and protection of human rights as we get to celebrate the 75 years of the Universal Declaration on Human Rights rests with all of us as duty bearers and those of us gathered in this room today. It is therefore my call to each of us to undertake their respective role, individual or corporate, with a rights-based approach to guarantee empowerment to people to know and claim their rights and increase the ability and accountability of individuals and institutions who are responsible for respecting, protecting, and fulfilling rights. As an institution, we will continue to play our critical role in this space. I thank you all.
Thank you very much, Madam Chair of the Kenya National Commission on Human Rights. I was very excited actually when you spoke about a human rights culture and state, because in the year 2006, the Kenya National Commission on Human Rights convened more than 800 participants at the KICC, which is just 2 kilometers away from here, to help us focus on a theme that was called Towards a Human Rights State in Kenya. I think it was too radical for those who were participating. And that tempo that the National Commission set those many years ago has kept us going. And Madam Chair, I was very, very happy when you reiterated that we are committed towards establishing a human rights culture and state in Kenya, which is supposed to inform all facets of our political economy. Thank you very much. We want to welcome our next speaker, Ms. Lee Fung. Please welcome her to come on stage. She will be giving the statement of the United Nations High Commissioner on Human Rights. Thank you so much, Ms. Lee, and thank you for always being very close to us in civil society. We feel like you are a very close partner who works with us with a lot of ease. Welcome, please.
Asante. And really, it's a pleasure to be with you all here today. As we are marking, ahead of the 10th of December, Human Rights Day and the commemoration of the adoption of the Universal Declaration on Human Rights. And this year, as you've heard, under the theme of dignity, freedom and justice for all, we're launching a year-long campaign to showcase the Universal Declaration and the fundamental rights it guarantees ahead of its 75th anniversary in 2023. And here in Kenya, we hope that today's celebration in the next year will be an opportunity to explore what the 30 rights guaranteed in the articles of the UDHR mean to people across the country in furtherance of a national human rights agenda, as our MC just said. So for today, I'm just going to read out the message of the High Commissioner for Human Rights, Mr. Volker Turk, on the occasion of Human Rights Day. The Universal Declaration of Human Rights is a miraculous text. At a time when the world emerged from cataclysmic events, the Declaration sets out universal rights and recognizes the equal worth of every person. The Declaration, which was drafted by representatives from all over the world, embodies a common language of our shared humanity, a unifying force at the heart of which lies human dignity and the duty of care we owe each other as human beings. In the past 74 years, the importance of universal, indivisible, and inalienable rights has only become clearer. Yet, there is a growing disconnect between the standards and the realities on the ground. Even as the 30 articles of the Declaration have sparked transformation in all areas of our lives, the embers of racism, misogyny, inequality, and hatred continue to threaten our world. We face a triple planetary crisis and skyrocketing inequalities, exacerbated by the COVID-19 pandemic. And we are grappling with a rise in populist politics and authoritarianism, a deluge of misinformation, both online and offline, and an alarming spread of conflict and violence. All of these factors are impeding our progress towards a freer and more equal world. In 2023, we will commemorate the 75th anniversary of the Universal Declaration of Human Rights. It is also the 30th anniversary of the Vienna Declaration and Programme of Action, which paved the way for the creation of the United Nations High Commissioner for Human Rights. This coming anniversary year will be our opportunity to recall the consensus envisaged by the Declaration, to reset and to strengthen the remarkable human rights architecture we have built. With an eye to the past, as well as to the future, I hope that the UDHR 75 initiative, which will be led by my office together with our partners, will allow us to rekindle the spirit, the impulse, and the vitality that led to the Declaration 75 years ago. The language and spirit of the Declaration have the potential to overcome division and polarization. It can make peace with nature, our planet, and point the way to sustainable development for future generations. Its light can shine in the daily lives of individuals, in communities, in their neighborhoods, in schools, offices, and on the streets. But this requires our generation, including young people, to give the Declaration new life, to take ownership, and to repurpose it to meet the needs of our time and the challenges of our future. In 2023, I invite everyone to take up the torch for human rights and use these rights to forge a common future of dignity, freedom, and justice for all. Asanteni sana.
Thank you very much. And we are being challenged to carry the torch of human rights and for the young generation to take over and lead, repurpose the UDHR to serve the purposes of our time in terms of meeting our needs and development. Thank you very, very much for those very encouraging words. You've actually already taken us to 2023 so that we can start to look forward to the marking of the 30 years of the setting up of the commission. Thank you very much. We want to now welcome the UN resident coordinator in Kenya, Dr. Stephen Jackson, to make his statement on this very, very important day. Please join me in welcoming him to come and make his statement.
Waheshimiwa mabalozi marafiki hamjambo. It's my great honor to read the statement of His Excellency the United Nations Secretary General on this International Human Rights Day, to which I will modestly append just a few short remarks afterwards on the subject of Kenya. And so the Secretary General has this to say. The world is facing unprecedented and interlocking challenges to human rights. Hunger and poverty are increasing, an affront to the economic and social rights of hundreds of millions of people. Civic space is shrinking. Media freedom and the safety of journalists are in dangerous decline in almost every region of the world. Trust in institutions is evaporating, especially among young people. The COVID-19 pandemic has led to increased levels of violence against women and girls. Racism, intolerance, and discrimination are running rampant. New human rights challenges are emerging from the triple planetary crisis of climate change, biodiversity loss, and pollution. And we're only beginning to grasp the threat posed to human rights by some new technologies. These trying times call for a reignition of our commitment to all human rights: civil, cultural, economic, political, and social. The call to action I launched in 2020 positions human rights at the center of solutions to the challenges we face. This vision is reflected in my report on Our Common Agenda, which calls for a renewed social contract anchored in human rights. The 75th anniversary of the landmark Universal Declaration on Human Rights next year must be an opportunity for action. And I urge member states, civil society, the private sector, and others to put human rights at the heart of efforts to reverse today's damaging trends. Human rights are the foundation for human dignity and the cornerstone of peaceful, inclusive, fair, equal, and prosperous societies. They are a unifying force and a rallying cry. They reflect the most fundamental thing we share, our common humanity. On this Human Rights Day, we reaffirm the universality and indivisibility of all rights as we stand up for human rights for all. And that brings to the end the Secretary General's statement. It is, as he said, a rallying cry in the face of quite a bleak picture that he paints at the global level of a backward slippage in human rights, the reemergence of global conflict, the triple planetary emergency, and many other challenges. I believe that here in Kenya, we have reason to be a little bit more cautiously optimistic. Even if, as in every country around the world, my own included, challenges remain, some of them deep, and we can never excuse ourselves with complacency. But as the moderator has kindly reminded us, Kenya has been on quite a remarkable journey of her own over the 60 or so years since independence, and particularly with respect to human rights. He's just off stage. I'm nodding to him rather than to the door. as he also reminded you, and as Madam Chair, you reminded us, Kenya, since 2010, has been blessed with an extraordinary and progressive constitution. Those of you who've heard me speak around the elections have heard me quote an Irish language proverb, Isol Condui nach Shaden Ma, which means it's an ill wind that doesn't blow some good. And the tragedy of the 2007 elections in Kenya gave us this extraordinary and progressive constitution. And like for every country, it is a journey to live up to the ambition of our founding documents. But I have to say I'm encouraged by the early signals from this new government and from His Excellency the President on the issue of human rights overall. I was encouraged by some of the very early, the very first steps that he took after being sworn into office. And I'm particularly encouraged when we look at one of the key sub-themes that we've chosen for this year's celebration, which is around the intrinsic interlinkage between human rights and development. And we are, of course, as we come into 2023, Lee, we will be marking the 75th anniversary of the Universal Declaration, but we will also be marking the midpoint of the journey towards 2030 and taking stock of where we've arrived and where we still need to get. As part of that, two important themes as I close. First, the need for an economy that invests in human rights and works for everyone. And again, that's a message for Kenya, but that's a message for every country. In the true spirit of the Universal Declaration, we need to have economic approaches and models that don't generate untenable social costs, that don't tear apart the fabric of societies, that don't fuel instability, that don't result in the kinds of historic levels of inequality that we're seeing globally. Because that inequality is unjust and immoral, but it is also economically and developmentally inefficient, and it is politically and in security terms unstable. So I choose to believe in the good intentions of the bottom-up model. And I've confirmed that to His Excellency the President, that to us in the United Nations and with our cherished principle of leaving no one behind at the heart of the Sustainable Development Goals, there's a very fruitful conversation for us to have in how we can support producing a Kenyan economy that continues to grow, but also grows equally. And that leaving no one behind principle is at the heart of our new United Nations Sustainable Development Cooperation Framework. And the second and final point, that we need to renew the social contract between governments and their people within societies and between societies to rebuild trust and embrace a shared and comprehensive vision of human rights on the road to a just and sustainable development. And that theme of a rejuvenated global and national social contract is at the heart of the Secretary General's Our Common Agenda report. A very key piece of that is the power of independent institutions, and I'm deeply proud that so many of Kenya's independent institutions are with us today. It is your work, Madam Chair, and those like you that engendered the peaceful elections and the peaceful transition that Kenya just modeled to the world. I'm very encouraged again by the early steps this government has taken to further strengthen the independence of some key institutions, and that will be our focus too under our new cooperation framework, helping Kenya to go further on that journey. So, really looking forward to partnering with all of you to continue helping Kenya to prosper in a climate of equity, equality, and peace with full respect for human rights, and very much looking forward to celebrating a year-long birthday with you for the 75th anniversary of this extraordinary document, the Universal Declaration. Asanteni.
Thank you very much, Dr. Stephen. You make two very important points at the closing first about anchored now in we understand what it is that we are celebrating today and the challenges that lie ahead for our country, but also globally. So thank you very much. I want us to really appreciate the three keynote speakers who have opened this day. Don't you think they've done a great job? Let's appreciate them. Let's appreciate them together. So I just want to give you a sneak preview of the panel that will be coming after the video. Samson has coordinated. The video is ready. It's a short one, but very useful. The panel that will follow, and it will be moderated by none other than the chair lady of the Kenya National Commission on Human Rights. We'll have on board the Honorable Shakil Shabir, who is already here. Shakil will be in the second panel. We will be having Nuria Golo, Kelvin Aroni, Terry Ann Wino, Annette Otieno, and Stephen Wafula. But that will be immediately after the very, very short video. So let's take it on now, and then the panel will follow after that. Thank you.
Bismillah, as Fatuma, human rights means to me right to education, right to food security, right to life, and right to any other essential things in the humanity. As a Kenyan government is where all the human rights needs are met. And once that is not met, the government actually has failed in that sector. Already from the pastoral community, we depend on livestock. And because of the climate change and the prolonged drought, our livestock are wasted. And likely, actual dependence of the rifle is becoming very difficult.
Kwa majina anaitwa Martin Shikuku, natoa katika eneo la Simatret hapa Trans Nzoia. Kile naelewa na mambo ya haki ya binadamu ni kwamba sisi zote tumesaliwa kwa usawa na tunahitaji kukua na usawa kila jambo bila kuchukua mtu. Na yale ama ile sehemu ya haki yangu ambayo mimi nafurahia sana, wakati sisi yote tunachangamana bila kujali wewe umesoma kabila gani. Na ikiwa kuna changamoto pande huo, tunaangalia watu wakileta pamoja kuwaongelesha ili wapate kupatana na waishi kwa amani, ili kila mtu afurahie hiyo haki ya binadamu. Ni kwa hayo tunaelewa juu ya haki ya binadamu. Ikiwa haki yangu zile nimesema nimenyimwa, tuna mashirika ambayo nitakutembelea ya kuweza kupa kama Kenya Human Rights, Commission Administrative na IPOA, ili waweze kuaddress ikiwa hiyo imetokea.
My name is George Alambo, a resident of Kisumu County. Human rights, according to me, are the basic and fundamental provisions as prescribed for human beings. This one has been entrenched or inscribed in our constitutions and also international laws. As a Kisumu resident, one of the issues that we find as a violation of human rights is a SGBV on the rise, a rape on our girls and also children, those are minors. Then we also have a lot of domestic violence, maybe partly because of this economic situation or because of just unbecoming behavior. Yes.
Jina langu ni Anthony Kimani Uhuru, mwanaharakati kutoka Jamaica na mwanachama wa Social Justice Center ambayo iko na centers zaidi ya 40 Kenya mzima, na jukumu langu kubwa ni kuhakikisha kwamba masuala ya haki za kibinadamu yanafuatwa na kila Mkenya ama kila mwanakiamaiko wanapata haki kulingana na vile katiba inasema. Haki za kibinadamu kulingana na katiba yetu ni kwamba ni jukumu la serikali kuhakikisha kwamba kila Mkenya ama kila mwananchi anapata haki, anapata security, anapata mazingira mazuri, anapata elimu nzuri, anapata shelter ama makazi mazuri, na kuhakikisha kwamba kila mwananchi analindwa na anapata usalama wa kutosha. Kwa hivyo jukumu langu kubwa ni kuhakikisha kwamba haya mambo yanatimizwa, kama ndio haki za kibinadamu zitimie. Asante.
Bismillah.
So I want to take this opportunity to welcome our panelists and the session moderator, as I reported, Madam Chair herself. So is Nuria Golo already in the house? Nuria Golo, please come. I can see Nuria from Marsabit. Let's welcome Nuria as she comes. Kelvin Aroni. Thank you so much. Welcome Kelvin Aroni as he comes. Thank you very much. Terian Owino. Terian is right there. Please, let's welcome Terian. Annette Otieno. Annette. Very good. Thank you so much. Let's welcome Annette. Stephen Wafula. Stephen, from the National Council for Persons with Disability. Let's welcome all of them. I want to see where Madam Chair is going to sit. And finally, Madam Chair, please join us on stage so that you can take us through the session. It is such an honor to be moderated by Madam Chair herself. Thank you very much.
Thank you once again, Cyprian. Watching that short clip, I asked myself, what does human rights mean to me? And I would like each and every one of you to ask yourself, what does human rights mean to you? And when you leave here, we'll be conversing around that. So just think around it. So again, once again, good morning. It is indeed my honor and pleasure to be here to moderate this panel of very, very esteemed individuals. The objective of this panel discussion is to explore perspectives on the Universal Declaration on Human Rights and what it means today in Kenya in order to achieve dignity, freedom, and justice for all. We have a very diverse and rich panel here of human rights defenders, and I'm sure when we are done, you'll have listened to a broad intersection of what human rights means to them from their background. So I will introduce my panelists. I have right next to me, Ms. Annette Atieno. Ms. Annette Atieno is a strategic communication specialist with 6 years experience with a focus on LGBTIQ plus and sexual and reproductive health rights. A big hand for Annette, please. Next to Annette, we have Kelvin Aroni. Kelvin is a youth leader, a grassroots human rights defender, and a champion against gender-based violence from Mathare in Nairobi. And he is also a member of Ghetto Foundation, where he works as a volunteer at the gender desk. A big hand for Kelvin. Next to Kelvin, we have Nuria. Nuria comes all the way from Marsabit to join us today. She is the CEO of Marsabit Women Advocacy and Development Organization. She's a community facilitator, empowering her community by committing her own resources and time to protect women and girls against any type of violence and retrogressive cultural practices. Welcome, Nuria. Then we have Annette Atieno. No, sorry, Terianne Owino. Terry works with the Feminists for Peace, Rights and Justice Center based in Kibera and is a member of Wasani Sana Theatre Group. She is a trainer in gender-based violence, human rights, women's empowerment, conversation, and leadership and governance. Terry believes in the power of information which needs to be available to everyone. Welcome, Terry. And finally, and by no means least, we have Stephen Wafula. And Stephen is a member and advocate of the Mental Health Committee at the National Council for Persons with Disabilities. He is a senior accountant by profession and a champion of the albinism movement. We welcome you, Stephen. So, ladies and gentlemen, I'll give my panelists each 4 minutes to speak on what human rights means to them and how it intersects with what they do in their community, and what specific issue they can discuss with us that actually elevates or highlights what human rights means to you. I will start with you, Stephen.
Thank you for having me and us here. Allow me to confirm.
All right, thank you. Well, it's a pleasure to have me and us here to talk about really this important topic of human rights, especially now focusing on persons with disabilities, where I work and advocate for the rights of persons with disabilities. Now, when you talk about, I'll just jump straight into it. When you talk about what human rights means to me, it means like breaking barriers that hinder persons with disabilities to live normally in an environment, and ensuring that those barriers are really brought down. For example, when you talk about right to education, there are several barriers that persons with disabilities face. Case in point, you can pick quickly those with visual impairment. Yeah? What are the reasonable accommodations that have been given to them to ensure that in the environment where they are in school, that they can actually participate and be at the same level with other students in order for them to perform well. Talk about, for example, even in the issues of governance. Yeah? What is it that the government has done to put in place to ensure that persons with disabilities can actually participate? So it cuts across several sectors of life. Talk about the socio-economic areas of life, and also um, even the religious part of it, yeah. So these are the things that, or the rights that persons with disabilities should have, like the right to life, right to education, right to healthcare, and actually not just healthcare, but quality healthcare. Right to be employed, not only to be employed in order to meet the 5%, progressive rule, but to be employed and also to be retained in the employment. So in short, that's what I'll say. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Stephen. He shares that the issues intersect across a broad sector of life, but highlights the issue of education for people with disabilities. Thank you, Stephen. Terry-Ann?
Yeah, thank you. Thank you for having me. When I think about human rights, I think about responsibility personally as a person, because where your rights end are where mine starts, And as a feminist and as a woman, case study, this Universal Declaration of Human Rights, I mean, it's 75 years, a lot has changed, effects of gender-based violence right now in the 16 days of activism, and we see how they're exacerbated in women, especially. The effects of climate change. So when I think about human rights, I see the gaps that are there and growing points of how we can make it better and dignified according to our theme of this year. There is food security, climate change, a lot has come into play even as we talk about human rights and how we can make it better as civil societies. Also the issue of, I was reading and I came to realize that it holds the Guinness World Book record of the most translated, document. That is amazing. But then how many people know that it exists? So about, I said I'm passionate about access to information. How many people know that it exists? Even I don't want to use the word mamamboga, but does she know that it's there? Do they know that I have a right to unfair dismissal should not be on the table? Do they even know how to sign contracts before going into employment, such like things? So when I think about it, I want to localize it to my community, to Kibera, a local woman in Kibera. So that is just basically what comes into my mind. I don't want to put to a level where local people cannot understand. So for me, it's localizing it for everyone to get the point.
Thank you. Thank you, Terry-Ann. Thank you for raising the issue of dissemination and sharing the word on what is in the UADHR. How do we get it out to everyone out there? And we thank you for that. Thank you very much. Next, Nuria.
Thank you very much. My name is Nuria. I come from Marsabit. And to me, human right is entitlement for every human to live free of discrimination and live a life of dignity. Coming from Marsabit, I think when you hear of Marsabit, there are things which come into your mind. Climate change comes into your mind. The drought situation right now comes into your mind. And also insecurity comes into your mind. For me, as much as I appreciate the declaration, it's for all human beings, I just get perplexed. Where are we as people from northern Kenya? Not northeastern, but northern Kenya, where up to now there's patriarchy and dominance of men over women, where women do not have freedom, even for their own body. They cannot make decision at whatever level. A situation where children are herding. We talk of free primary education, universal primary education, and up to today, we have children as young as 9 years, 10 years, herding, looking after animals. So for me, as much as the declaration is there, of course it has been localized in some countries, I feel there's a gap. Some of us are not feeling it. Maybe we are feeling it at some levels, maybe for those who are educated, those who are working, those who are exposed, and who have interacted with others outside maybe the country and even at the national level. But back at home, at grassroots, does a woman who lives in Nodor know her right? Is it really practical for them? So as much as it allows life of dignity, I feel our people out there are at different levels. There are those who up to date are not living a life of dignity. If I can quote the video which was shown about the drought situation in Marsabit, the children you saw in the pictures, is that living a life of dignity really? And most of the time, they are only used for photo purpose. And when you go down on the ground, the situation is almost as good as the same. Nothing has changed. Very little is done by the county government. And I appreciate the civil society organizations because they are the ones who are up in arms and making sure these children go to school as much as they can. Of course, they cannot achieve 100%. People eat and drink, and life continues. So for me, as a human rights defender, I feel a lot needs to be done. The women out there are suffering. Children, girls are getting married at the age of 12. I rescued 2 2 weeks ago from Bubisa, Torbi. One is 12, the other one is 13, to be married off, and they are now accommodated somewhere in Marsabit. So are we really appreciating and really celebrating this human right? So I feel to say we are at different levels, and we are the ones who are the farthest, I assure you.
Thank you, Nuria. Thank you for that. She raises the issues of discrimination and brings into focus the special challenges being faced in the northern region, and of course the issues of the drought and its effects upon us. Thank you. Next we have Kelvin. Morning, Kelvin. Ni sawa, karibu sana. Ongea na ile lugha unasikia uko sawa. Asante sana, Kelvin. Kelvin is raising the issues of extrajudicial killings that are quite rampant in Mathare. I know IPOA is here. You'll be able to respond as a duty bearer on what steps have been taken to assure that we bring to book security agencies who actually misuse the power given to them. Thank you very much, Kelvin. Annette?
What the Universal Declaration of Human Rights means to me, especially for the organization that I work for and the work that I've done, is that a lot of the language used in the UDHR is mirrored in our own constitution, which is basically our, in the work that we do around LGBTQ plus rights and litigation, especially in Kenya. That it is really important that we have the protections of the Constitution, because the laws that are in place are often misinterpreted and misused, and that it is that this again has to, like, we bring it up, like we're now litigating around this issue, and that we continue to litigate around repealing of repressive laws in the country. And so we hope that the human rights mechanisms and the Constitution especially will protect us and will stand as the Bible and will stand as a guide in this particular exercise. Thank you.
Thank you, Annette. Annette raises the issues of access to justice, how we can access more rights by litigating across it. She also brings in the issue of the intersectionality of actually all the issues of rights. Rights are universal, rights are for all, so yes, they intersect, and I think you're right in that. Thank you very much, and she also brings in the issues of the LGBTQI community and how they have been using the Constitution to try and access those rights. So thank you very much. At this point, we're going to move into a question and answer, and I'll ask Cyprian to please come and assist with that by getting, there's supposed to be a mic in the front somewhere where they, yes, and on that note, I will ask anyone who has a question, kindly let me see indication of anyone who would like to input into the discussion or ask a question. We have 1, yes, 2, 3, and 4. Okay, we have 4. We'll take those 4. If we can have the microphone. Is it working? If you could just come, the issue is for you to come to the front so that we can capture you as you speak. So, yes, come forward, please. Please get the microphone across.
Right here.
Yeah, thank you so much.
Kindly keep your question short and to the point. I'm giving you 2 minutes.
Yeah, thank you so much. My name is Karen Kerie from Kisumu County. I'm a human rights defender. My concern is about the gap that Nuria from Marsabit has talked about and on the issues of women. I'm so passionate on women and children issues. When she gives us a gap of women not accessing justice and not even knowing their rights, I'm wondering what we can do as CSOs and as partners who are here to be able to reach out to these locals, because it's not probably Marsabit alone, could be also in other areas. Is there anything we can do, or do we really have human rights defenders in all the corners, or how can we reach out to these people? Because
thank you.
Yes, thank you.
Thank you very much. That was followed by somewhere here. Yes.
Good morning, everyone. Thank you for the opportunity. I tend to side
Your
more...
name, please, and where you come from?
Sorry, people. My name is Frank. I work for a media company called What's Good. I understand that, especially in Kenya, inequality has a big role to play in terms of access to justice and human rights. Case being, if you come from a low-income society, access to this platforms, rights, and such things is very difficult, almost impossible. But if you come from a different part of town, everything is handed to you on a platter. I would like us to address that as an issue, because if there's one thing that's happening, inequality is growing vastly, and we're only going to see if this thing's exacerbated. Thank you.
Thank you, Frank. We have the gentleman at the back.
Morning, everyone. My name is Anthony Moki. I'm a human rights defender from Mathare Social Justice Center, and I run ecological justice campaign. My question is about women's subjugation in this perspective of discrimination in the institution to sons who are born out of wedlock. I've been seeing many things like that in the working labor system. Yeah.
Thank you, Anthony. Give it to my sister at the back there.
Good morning. I'm Christine Kandia from Baringo. I work with an organization called Endurance Indigenous Women Empowerment Network. We focus on women and persons with disabilities and young girls. My question goes to the gentleman from National Council of Persons with Disabilities. I wanted to understand what mechanism are the council putting in place to ensure that persons with disabilities from indigenous communities are not left behind. I'm also asking a question because we were coming from an election and 26 counties in this country did not comply with the constitutional requirement of having persons with disabilities in county assembly, because it is not the first time. This is the second time. I wanted to know what exactly our Kenya National Human Rights Commission are doing also in collaboration, because both of you are constitutional bodies put in place to ensure that those people who are most marginalized are also part and parcel of conversation and leadership in this country. Thank you.
Thank you, Christine. Your second question will be deferred. The next panel will be for duty bearers, and the commission will be represented and will be able to respond. The first part will be responded to now. Commissioner? Okay, she has deferred it to the next one. Thank you, Commissioner. So I'll give you each a quick minute to respond. I'll start with Annette.
I didn't hear a direct question that came to me, but I take this opportunity to now sell my wares. So when it comes to access to justice, I really do think we are somewhere, but we're not where we want to be, right? I quote a very good friend of mine who says that there's the Kenya we want and there's the Kenya we have, and that there's a difference between the two, right? And so we continue, as human rights defenders, we continue to put pressure on the duty bearers, right? Earlier there was the statement that the civil space is shrinking, right? And we know this. Everybody who sits up here and people who are down there as well know this. And it also, comes down to funding, but also it comes down to, I don't want to say oppression, but just like there are people who feel that their interests are best served where the civil society is smaller, right? Where nobody's putting pressure on the duty bearers, right? And on top of the work that we're doing, we're also doing the work of making sure that we exist and we continue to exist in these spaces, right? I will also speak to the question about the growing space between, the 1% and the 99%, that we no longer have what would be called a middle class, okay? And that the people who are in the 99% are often targeted, yeah? And that these are the people who feel the law less, in a way. Like the law isn't on their side, it's more on them, right? And that this is the work that we continue to do. And that even in that there's the intersectionalities of issues, right? And even in the 99%, we do see that the LGBTIQ plus community is also highly targeted, right? Not just by people who you would assume are duty bearers, but also by the society in which they live. And this is the this is the work that we must continue to do.
Thank you, Annette. Kelvin, extrajudicial killings in Mathare. Tumesikia Rashid atafikishwa mahakamani. Kwa Hood mnasikiaje?
Pande yangu itakuwa ni kama ni justice imekuwa served, kwa sababu hakuna venye unaweza madam say unaweza uwa mtu mbele ya watu alafu walk free. Hata huko home ukilamba sukari lazima utachapwa, si ndio? Yeah, so alafu nataka kujibu ile mambo na yes. Huko kwa mtaa kuna ile pa specific wasenyo huwa na agati juu. Acha tuseme mambo na dressing code. Unajua mimi niko na dread, niko na rasta. Hizi dread ukitoa utembea huko wewe ni mwizi, si ndio? But hawajui kazi yenye mimi nafanya wapi kwa community, unaona. Alafu kitu poa yenye huwa tunafanya ku engage my youth, hii mambo ya kushikwa ishe, ni wakutepia makarao. Okay, makarao si wabaya. Wenye huku nje hakuna mtu mzuri unajua. Ukikutole karao mzuri mwenye unamweleza venye kunaenda, hataki kushika atakuachilia. For example na tuseme na Huruma police station. Ya yule OCS saizi ni rafiki mbaya sana. Hata anaweza kupigia simu akuulize mtaa iko aje, unaona? Kwa sababu ule alituonyesha pia kuna ule urafiki. Si eti kila saa tunaona ni maadui, lakini pia kuna wale wabaya, makarawani wataki kusikia stories zako. Hata venye nikikuja huku leo asubuhi, kuna venye tu ni venye mimi ni roho juu kidogo. Wametry kunisumbua lakini hawajaniweza. Yeah, nimwambia nikaona ni waste ya time, unaona. So huko chini kwa mtaa kuna kibarua. Yes, kuna kibarua ni tujitume tu kama sisi ma youth. Tusiingize ile fear yenye ati makarao sijui nini. Unajua ukimkuta atakuogopa pia wewe, si ndio? Yes.
Asante sana Kelvin. Nafurahi kusikia ya kwamba si makarao wote ni wabaya. Kuna wale wazuri na mnasikizana. Asante. Na kibarua tumesikia kunayo, tutafika huko. Asante sana. Next is Nuria.
Yeah.
Issues about the gaps and our civil society.
About the discrimination, and I think the first role relies squarely with the government. The government must take lead in ensuring there's equality and inclusivity of us all. And I thank the civil society, because if it was not for the civil society, I wouldn't be here myself. So I thank them so much, and I ask them kindly, can you spread out to those areas, the far to reach areas where we need more human rights defenders and more intensive public education for the people, both men and women, and youths, of course. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, I'll answer the question about subjugation of women in the workforce. You can't work alone. I believe in working in partnership with duty bearers, with the government, with civil society organizations. And a woman can be subjugated and not know that it's an infringement of her rights. Again, access to information, you know. So I believe civil society organizations are doing a lot of work, but then is it a losing battle? No, we have taken steps forward, and we should celebrate our small wins as well. So my answer would be just like working in partnerships until we get there. And then the issue about women and girls in Marsabit, as I said, we are in 16 days of activism, and most of these issues are gender-based violence related. And there's the issue of retrogressive cultures, I think, in Marsabit as well. And Nuria, you're doing a good job changing that. Changing a culture is not easy. So as much as we want change now, it will take time for us to get there. Are we doing a good job? Yes, we are. But we have to continue doing it. How choky, you know. And then Nuria talked about the government being the first point of action, you know. But then the issue with me personally, I feel like gender-based violence cases are really underfunded. And for those that are underfunded, the bureaucracy of those funds just to get into the local CBOs is just a whole story in itself. I think it's this when during the launch of the GBV, Aisha Jumwa said that I think the Finnish government gave up 700 and something million. And let me tell you, it's sad to say that half of it might even end in administrative, before it reaches the women that are breaking their backs to solve these questions. So when you talk about human rights, gender-based violence should be, it's like nirohoya human rights, because a lot of women are dying. So it's a gender-based violence issue, and we should get back to the drawing board. I'm a feminist, kindly understand. We should just get back to the drawing board and see what are we really doing if GBV cases are underfunded and we want change, and the local women are doing a lot of work but they are not supported. So I feel like for duty bearers here, for people that are in offices that can help women organizations, kindly do. We need your support to get there.
Thank you. Thank you. Terianne raises the crucial issue of partnerships, which I think is very, very key and which is well taken. And she also raises the issue of accessing funds that are in the basket fund. The Finnish ambassador was here earlier. I wish he was still here to hear your comment, but it will get to him. Thank you very much. And last and not least is Stephen.
Thank you. Kevo hata mimi niko na dredi lakini mimi sigondi. Kazi ni kujituma. Yeah. All right. She was asking what the council is doing in order to ensure that the persons with disabilities, especially from indigenous communities, are not forgotten or left behind. Just to start by saying that the council recently, we've been migrating our registration and our cards from the normal cards that we had to a card that has security features, so that we can capture the actual persons with disabilities in Kenya and eliminate those fraudsters who want to, take advantage of the rights and privileges that come with having disability. So that is one step towards actually knowing who exactly is a person with disability, even in the very local area where the indigenous communities come from. That is one. Number two, we have reach, of course, in all the 47 counties, but we don't work alone. The funds that we receive from the Exchequer is not really enough. We work in partnership with other disability organizations or organizations of persons with disabilities who are also at the local level. And to some extent, we try to fund them in their activities. But also, we have a program that should be taken advantage of, especially by the indigenous communities of persons with disabilities, the economic empowerment. Yeah? And right now we have the Hustlers Fund. Yeah? We should also leverage on that to ensure that, there are persons with disabilities who come in self-help groups. They come up with things like beekeeping, poultry farming, things like that. We fund them. It might not be enough, but to ensure that you get to have, to be reached, form such kind of self-help groups and take advantage, okay? Take advantage of the Hustlers Fund, yeah? Things like this. From our end, we'll continue to lobby the government for more funding so that we can actually get to meet the needs of every person with disabilities in Kenya. From the census that took place last, I will be a little bit selfish. For persons with albinism, you find that the numbers were about 9,000 and something, 9,700 and something, yeah? But in our database, we have around 3,500. So where are the rest? Do we have the capacity to get to know them? It's all about the funding. From our end, we'll continue lobbying for the funds. As we are speaking, development fund for the council for last financial year, you know there were budget cuts, right? Because of elections. The entire 200 million that was supposed to come to go towards things like wheelchairs, assistive devices, to date, we don't have that amount in our account, okay? So going forward, yeah, we really encourage that as leaders in your locality, get to partner with other disability organizations, come together. It's only in working together that we can achieve the synergy of achieving whatever it is that we are doing. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Stephen. I think that is well said. He has cited what they do, what they can do for you. I think please reach out to him after this so that you can find a way of working together post this. So thank you very much, audience. Thank you, my panelists. To wrap up, I just want to ask each of you one quick question, and that is, what is your immediate priority? What is your immediate priority as an institution for realizing the rights in the UDHR? I'll start with Annette. Your immediate priority.
Our immediate priority is repealing sections 162, 163A and C, and 165 of the Penal Code, which are the repressive laws that are used as justification for homophobia, transphobia, biphobia, and intersex phobia in the country. And that is where we stand. We are currently at the Court of Appeals, and we hope that once those are out of the way, we'll be able to come to the full realization of access to human rights and human dignity for LGBTIQ plus Kenyans. But also, on top of that, we hope that the government will be true to Resolution 275 of the African Commission, and also that finally we'll be able to have an anti-discriminatory law in place, in addition to scrapping those laws.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you. Resolution 275 is top of our agenda too, so we work together on that. Yes, Kelvin? Sorry?
Nimesikia tena party shot. Yeah, so mi pande yangu naweza sema kwa mtaa kuna hii article 43. Tukiweza kuisoma vizuri venye nasema tunge constitution poa, vijana tutakuwa arrested. Vijana toka tunauliwa kila wakati, si ndio? Ya alafu kitu ninaweza sema mimi ni get inspired but don't copy.
Thank you. Yes. Thank you.
Okay, as for me, my immediate priority is to have maybe a baseline conducted on all what we are saying here about Northern Kenya, so that it becomes, a working document for all the partners.
Thank you. A baseline study.
Mine is in the preamble of the UDHR, just to put it into perspective. It talks about every organ of society, every individual keeping the declaration in mind and striving to teach and to educate so that everyone gets to know what this is and take responsibility into taking it into account. Yeah.
Thank
so
you.
As Feminists for Peace, Rights and Justice Center, we are in the work to liberating everyone and respecting human rights.
Thank you for bringing us back to the UDHR. Asante sana.
Well, for the council, 2 priorities. Number 1, it is to ensure that the revised Persons with Disability Bill is assented into law as it is. It's here too. So working together with the Parliamentary Committee of Persons with Disabilities who are in Parliament, we are pushing. That conversation is ongoing. And number 2, it is to ensure that every person with disability is moved and migrated into the new registration system and accesses the new card, which has security features. That will really help us in the numbers, in the budgeting and everything. Thank you.
Thank you. So that means if you know any person with disability, let them know the registration is ongoing and they need to get new cards and to register fresh. Thank you very, very much, ladies and gentlemen. A big hand to my panel. And thank you very much. Asante ni sana.
And a big, very, very big hand to Madam Chair for fabulous moderation. Thank you so much. Thank you. And I've been reminded that there's an exhibition. There are several points where we are doing an exhibition outside by various organizations. When you get a minute, as you step out, please make sure that you pass through the exhibitions. Very, very rich content is on display there. The Social Justice Center's traveling theater are now coming on stage. Yes. And the technical team is helping us with that.
Thank you very much, Murume.
It's okay.
Of the Lord be upon you all. Brethren, today we are gathered here to lay down a young soul whose life ended before it even began. It is with much pain that we lay down this young soul whose presence in our life will be felt. How I wish that we'll have seen him grow and mature to become a responsible young man in our society. But that is not to be. But I hope it is God's plan that He has chosen him and called him. I now take this chance to welcome the mother and say a few words before we proceed to the graveyard.
My baby would have been alive if the doctors had attended to me. They neglected me. I labored for more than 10 hours. When I went for delivery, they just looked at me and told me they don't have gloves, they don't have injection. They had the chance to save my baby. To make it worse, it was a public hospital. But they couldn't save my baby.
that will do the same to this mother. Comfort her at this hard time. Now, brethren, we may proceed to the graveyard.
My baby.
Junior, Kevin, Junior, what? You're running late.
Kevin, I don't understand.
You don't understand what?
This is the third barren we've had this month. Every time I hear it's all about these health issues. And every time I pass your area, there's a lot of hospitals. Don't you guys have enough doctors or enough medical?
Come on, man. You're better than that, Junior. Junior, that woman lost her baby just because the doctors neglected her. She labored for 10 hours, man. What part don't you get? Junior, that hospital chose money over her baby.
But I just don't understand. Every time the budget is read, money is allocated to hospitals for medicine to cater for all these things. Maternity labor. Maternity care was supposed to be free to every woman. What am I hearing? Just a few days ago in my area, there's a woman who gave birth very safely. Her child is healthy. In fact, when she was in labor, she was picked by an ambulance.
Will you just keep quiet? Will you just shut up, Junior? Are you even listening to yourself? Junior, shut up. Look at where we are. Junior, take a look at where we are. Eh? Junior, we live different lifestyles. Which part don't you understand? Junior, shut up. I'm still talking. Huh? Junior, you cross 3 trenches every stance. You cross 3 trenches every 10 steps that you take here. And you know that. Junior, through which road will that ambulance pass to get here? Shut up! I'm talking. Junior, here if you're privileged to have a hospital, then you don't have doctors. And if you have doctors, you have no medicine. You remember the one that you buried last time? Yes. He died of cholera, caused by the contaminated water that you drink. Imagine, Junior. Imagine we do not even have access to clean water.
But Kevin, what
Junior, I'm still talking. Here anything can kill you. 1,000 ways to die. We face a lot of injustices, yet this is our only hope. Our only hope. Look at the poor infrastructure, the poor housing, the poor sanitation, the poor health and educational facilities that we are having. Junior, I'm talking. Junior, I fear I might be next in the line. Life here is hard, bro. There is nothing to smile about here.
It's okay, brother. I might not really understand what you're going through in your area, but you know I always got you. Anyways, it's already getting late, so I better head home, man. You know, my mom can be quite feisty, yeah? Okay, we will talk later.
I'm sorry for shouting at you. Tell me what you want.
No, there's no need, by the way. I'm not a kid anymore.
Junior, let's not debate on this. You know very well that here you have to juggle it between the police or the thieves, especially at this time. Please, let's not debate on that.
Okay, then if you insist, that's okay.
And we always have to debate on that every time. Sure.
Is this not my place?
It is your
okay, sir. Lower your voice.
Hey, you know, wait first. You see that 700, that 7,000 or so called. That is the least amount that I can use in this area. If anything happens to me, I am safe. But where do you come from?
I come from the ghetto of Korogosho Gomogo Estate, sir.
What? Even thank you. How many kids do you have?
Sir, I have 5 sons.
5 sons?
Yes, sir.
Where do they stay?
I have, sir, I have rented a single room, sir, for them.
Single?
Yes, sir.
Do they fit all of them? You see, that is the problem. But I don't blame you. I blame the system.
It's
you
okay.
know.
It's okay, sir.
You can, you see, and wait first. You see here in our area we have clean water. You know clean water. Do you have any clean water?
I drink it here, sir.
What? So you don't have clean water in your area. You see, if you don't have clean water and the environment is very fine, it is not your problem. Do you know why?
No, sir.
Ask my Nairobi waters. Okay?
It's okay, sir.
And if they get sick, where do they go?
The hospital, sir, is almost 3 kilometers away.
What? 3 kilometers? If
Yes,
I
sir.
fall down over here, an ambulance will come for me right now.
It's okay, sir.
But I don't blame you. It is the system.
It's okay, sir. Lower your voice, sir.
And do they eat well?
In fact, sir,
With that 7,000.
In fact, sir, I have a son who has tumbo yake inakibia.
What?
He has a running stomach because I cannot afford balanced diet.
So you mean he has a stomach?
No.
Oh, you see, that is your problem and your area, but it's not your problem, by the way. It is the system.
It's okay,
you
sir.
see, if you could have good education, that is quality education in your area, you could have understood what I'm talking about, okay?
It's okay, sir.
And don't touch me, I'm not drunk, I'm just chemically imbalanced.
It's okay, sir.
And what did you say your name was?
Joroge, sir.
No, I prefer Watchman, okay? Oh, one other thing.
Sir. Good night, sir. Enjoy your sleepy notas. Najua uko maji.
Did you have to say that? I just had to. Did you have to say that? We have to reminisce this. But I understand you. And I very much get it. Junior. See, I am already home. You are at home. See, you're already home. See, I can walk myself back.
Wait a minute, before you leave, I have something. Maybe I give you
Junior, sure. There is no need. I'm okay.
Hey,
Junior.
how can
I can walk back home.
You have this as your fare. I'll use it for anything that you want.
Okay, thank you, man. See, I'll call you when I arrive.
Or maybe, because you're already here, let's, you can go greet mom.
She's in.
Yeah, she's in.
Okay, why not? Let's go. Wow.
Niko short.
Joroge.
Niko short.
Uko sawa?
Joroge what? Kefo.
Joroge what?
Hii ni area yangu ya kazi. Na siwezi kubali uingie hapa ndani.
Joroge, kwani this is my first time you are seeing me here? Hey.
Mimi nakujua kutoka mtaani, lakini hapa nafanya kazi. Toka!
Joroge, what's wrong?
Junior,
What's the matter?
Junior, the lady of the house said that this guy cannot enter these premises. If I allow him, I will lose my labor.
Joroge, but we come from the same neighborhood.
Yeah, that's okay. If my mother said that, it's okay. But Kevin is my friend. Exactly. He's my visitor.
Junior nielewe. Hata wewe ni rafiki yangu. I have no other place to go and work and find money. And if I lose this job, allow him inside, the madam will finish me, and I won't allow that.
Now, Joroge.
Wait, tafadhali
Joroge. Okay, Joroge, it's okay. Okay, Joroge, Junior. It's okay.
No, Kevin is not okay. How is
Junior, it's okay. I understand. Joroge, I understand.
Junior, wewe ni rafiki yangu.
Joroge, I understand.
Wewe ni rafiki yangu.
Out of my way.
Wewe ni rafiki yangu. Na sitaki kuharibu kazi hapa. I don't want to be finished by the lady of the house.
Junior, I'll call you when Junior, I'm going to
Hey!
call you when I get
Hey!
Hey, Mom.
What is the commotion all about here?
Mom, can you tell Joroge to let Kevin in, my friend?
Hi, Mama Junior.
Hide your miserable life. Joroge.
Yes, madam.
I thought I made it very clear
Yes, you
that this boy should never be allowed here. What is he doing here? Joroge, what is he doing here?
Mom, he's
Let
my
him
friend.
Toka wewe.
Nonsense.
Nonsense.
want to see you with that Kevin of a friend.
Mwambie tena, madam, mwambie.
Will you shut that mouth up?
Yes, madam.
Nonsense.
Mom,
Take these things out of your body and you're rocking.
Yes, madam.
Make sure that you burn every bit of it.
I will, madam.
Am I clear?
Yes, madam.
Seems like you and instructions don't get along. If I ever smell or feel that way in the couple, you'll lose your job. And you, meet me inside. Nonsense.
Mom.
Junior, nilikwambia wewe ni rafiki yako.
I thought you were my friend, Njoroge. You're supposed to support me in this.
Unafaa kunielewa Junior. Sitaki kupoteza kasi. I have no other place to labor.
Not even a good friend.
Wewe ni Junior.
What?
Umeambiwa usisahau kutoa nguo.
This is what you wanted, right?
Hapana, wewe ni
So,
rafiki yangu.
this is what you wanted, Njoroge, right?
Junior nielewe. Sina kwingine kwa kufanya kazi. Junior, tafadhali. Nielewe tu. Wewe ni rafiki yangu. Wewe ni rafiki yangu.
You were supposed to support me. If you would have supported me, my mother would have allowed Kevin in.
Lakini Junior, sasa ningemkubali, si ningepoteza kazi. Nitalea watoto wangu 5 na nini. Tafadhali nielewe. Umeambiwa utoe yote. Tafadhali. Junior, tafadhali.
This is your joy, right?
Hapana, usikasirike sana. Ni vile tu niko kasi hapa.
Njoroge, we are no longer friends anymore.
Tafadhali, Junior. Junior. Au kwa ukasirike hivyo Junior. Lakini huku kwa matajiri, wanatupa kila kitu. Hata hii ni nguo mpya. Wametupa pia hii. And this is a Ghanaian sir. Mimi siwezi soma. Ati nichome. Kwa nini nichome nguo? This is from Los Angeles. And this soup. Inakaa Madagascar kidogo. These are imported. And I have got a trouser for my son Marunge. Hey! And this coming Christmas, he will be the best rookies in town. He will have a perfect 3. Atawakunywa. Washa wale wanamwitaga sura kiatu. This time round, anawakunywa baya sana. Hey! Christmas. Niko na nguo za mtoto. Christmas.
Mom, I'm coming from Huduma Center and I'm applying for my passport now. I
You
can
have
finally
what? You have what?
applied for my passport.
Again.
But
How many
Mom,
times have I warned you not to stop to go to those Huduma centers?
But Mom, I really have to go to Middle East. You know there is no employment in this country. I am a graduate, Mom. I have a degree. Should I just sit down here with my papers doing nothing?
And fly to Middle East. Is that what you deserve being a graduate?
Mom, that
Is
will
that what you
help.
deserve?
Mom, that will help. That will get us out of this poverty. Look at the houses we're living in. Lack of water, lack of food. Mom, I'm so tired of this life. I do not want this life anymore.
How many girls have we watched go to Middle East and die over there? If you will not do it for yourself, do it for me. I am your mother.
Mom, my friend went to Australia and she's doing fine. She's helping her mother right now. Am I not supposed to do that?
Enough!
Mom,
I do not want to hear this anymore.
Mom,
I said enough! Never in your life raise your voice at me again. I want the best for you.
Mom, this is your idea of coming unemployment. You don't want our lives to change. You'll never understand.
Sharon. Mom, what's going on here?
people flying out to the Middle East. How many women have we seen fly out and come back alive? They get maimed, they get raped.
Mom, but you
What
understand,
am I
Shab?
supposed to do?
You understand, Shab? She's only trying to make us live dignified lives as well. What do you
How is that a dignified life? How is that a dignified life? A graduate flying out to the Middle East to work. How is that dignified?
It's better than she's staying here. There is no job in this area. You know that, Mom, surely.
We cannot keep having that same conversation, Kevin. Please talk to your sister.
Mom, it seems like you're comfortable with the way we are living.
I am not, but I am a mother. You are my children. There is no mother that will want her children to fly out and become maids in other people's countries.
Mom, I understand. You understand? You know Sharon very well. She's not an easy person to convince, but I'll try and talk to her.
Please do. If she will not do it for herself, let her do it for me. I cannot survive it.
I'll try. Though you understand her very well. Okay, so did you guys eaten anything?
No. I was heading out to look for something to do before she came in.
Okay, see. Then allow me to go to Mama Victor's kiosk. I have some money. I can go and purchase maybe a flan, maybe something we can eat.
And make sure you talk to your sister.
I'll try,
That is
you know
a
that.
conversation I do not want to have in this house.
Come on, but you guys always have to get physical.
You know how happy I am? I am so excited that finally we are starting this human rights organization.
Bana Joe, we have been dreaming for this thing for a long time ago.
You know how to help us solve this crisis in our community.
And also, don't remember, it will also encourage us for the
Next generation. So, what we are going to do, why are people always late for these meetings? I don't know why people are running so late. But anyway, so...
Why are you guys?
You can't wait for us. Why have you taken so long?
Sorry, boss. Sorry.
You know, commoners, we have to keep time when we say we are meeting for meetings. Especially when we are meeting to do something as important as this one.
By the way, where's Kevo?
Guys, I hope I've not kept you waiting for long.
No. We were here actually discussing. When I was coming with Comrade here, we were discussing the possible names that we should call our group. What do you think?
I have a good name. We can call it Galaxy. No. Utumishi kwa wote. Wezesha Jamii, but that's a good name.
I have a different idea.
Which one?
I was thinking of Article 43. Yeah.
Article 43 actually. Even
Hey,
in our
hey,
constitution.
Kev!
Yeah.
What's up, my nigga? How are you doing, bro? Junior. Just a minute. Junior, what are you doing here?
What's the matter, man?
Junior, I told you, the next time you were supposed to call me.
See, you're the one who was
Junior, you
supposed
could have called me.
But anyway, see, I'm already here.
How many times?
It's
Junior,
okay.
you know very well that the security in this place is very
Let
bad.
it be. I'm already here and I am safe, bro. Now, you've not introduced me to your friends, man. At least let me know what you're up to, bro. Hi, guys.
Hi.
How are you doing?
Hi, we are good.
I am Junior. I come from the estate. And I am Kelvin's friend, and I have been meaning to come and join you guys, but he has been so protective.
Junior, when you are showing in front of these guys.
Ali,
Yeah,
man.
actually, Junior has shared with us a very great idea, actually. Yeah, so we have heard so much about you. So we are talking about starting a group, and I think this name is so good. Article 43, because it speaks about social injustices that you are facing and the ones that you are going to be advocating for, right?
Yeah.
No, I like that idea, yeah. So we were like, so treasurer, how much do you have in our account?
We don't have enough funds. It is only 2,000 and it cannot
Hivyo vile kila mtu wako aende chini. Unasema mtu aende chini, unataka kuweka chini. Unataka kuambia kwenda chini ni nini?
I'm down.
Yes. Wewe. Unataka kuongea? Nyamaza. Officer. Si hawa ndio wanapanga maandamano hapa? Nini kama si maandamano wanapanga? Nyamaza. Unataka nikupee ruhusa utapike maneno vile unataka? Nonsense.
But you have done nothing wrong, sir.
Oh, you have done nothing.
Yeah.
Kwa macho ya serikali you have done everything. Wewe. Toa hii kitu. Mkubwa. Angalia nywele.
It's just a hairstyle, surely.
Oh, this is a hairstyle.
Just a hairstyle.
Yes, this is a criminal style.
I know. Officer, please.
Officer. Wacha niue hii
No,
nipate cheo.
officer, please.
Enda chini.
Officer, please.
Weka mikono nyuma.
Officer, please.
Officer, tupige risasi. Mbona
Officer, please. Officer. Officer, please.
Stop messing up with our minds, messing up with our lives. Say stop killing people every time we try to have a life. I say stop messing up with our minds, messing up with our lives. So say stop killing people every time we try to have a life.
Really hurting. People dying and people searching for people missing every day, and that's unhappy. People killing people, can't you see it's evil? And yet you call yourself a hero for killing people? I'm talking to you cops, you people on the post. So tell me how it feels, killing people not to live, killing children in the streets, killing sons and daughters of people who really do believe. Speaking now you listen, all you're sinning. Yeah, messing up our feelings, you are doing it bad, man. What is that? What is that? Stop!
Messing up with our minds, messing up with our lives. I say stop killing people every time we try to have a life. I say stop messing up with our minds, messing up with our lives. I say stop killing people every time we try to have a life.
So tell us reasons as to why you're killing people. Give us reasons why you're not protecting people. Utumishi kwa wote is now utu missing. You're busy killing people, hurting people, and daily stealing. Fuck this system, really. These people are daily busy. Stealing from people and making people down on feelings. I'm kinda right. I know you know I'm right. I'm telling you people to stand up and fight for rights. Because the day is now and the time is right. Get up, stand up, it is time to rise. A person to person who makes it right for a person, who does it right for a person. I love that kind of a person.
Messing up with our minds, messing up with our lives. I say stop killing people every time we try to have a life. I say stop messing up with our minds, messing up with our lives. I say stop killing people every time we try to have a life.
We do.
We do have a life.
The Social Justice Center's Traveling Theater.
A better applause for the Social Justice Center's traveling theater. What do you say about that? Was it excellent or it was good? Thank you very much. The Social Justice Center's traveling theater for that very excellent edutainment. They are not in entertainment. They are in human rights advocacy. All of them, of course, are known to us, human rights defenders in this country. And we are very glad for that session. We now go to the second and last panel. And the panel will be moderated by none other than the resident coordinator himself. I'm telling you today is fire. That is how we would have called it if it was in that setting. And the other members of the panel, I'm going to call them out now so that we can welcome them. Starting with the director, the CEO of the Kenya National Commission on Human Rights, Dr. Bernard Mogesa. Please let's welcome Dr. Bernard as he comes. Let's welcome Mr. Evans Okeyo, the head of investigations at IPOA. Evans Okeyo, thank you so much. Join me in welcoming Mr. Mohamed Osman, the Director of Public Education at the Office of the Ombudsman. Thank you so much, Mr. Mohamed Osman. Then our own and loved friend, the Honorable Shakil Shabir, the MP for Kisumu East and the Parliamentary Caucus on SDGs at the National Assembly. Very finally, Ms. Roslyn Kabata, the head of Access to Justice for Vulnerable Groups at the National Council for the Administration of Justice. Let's welcome Roslyn Kabata as she comes. So this panel is a little too imbalanced. I will request Osman to come to this side so that Roslyn can take the center stage, if you don't mind. Yeah, and Simiyu is going to assist me with more mics, beginning with the mic for the resident coordinator. Where's the mic? Thank you so much. If Dr. Mogesa can share his mic so that we can start from there. Thank you so much. Dr. Stephen, take over, please.
Thank you so much, Buena Moderator. And before we begin, just one more time, I think a round of applause for the Social Justice Centre's Travelling Theatre. We couldn't have had a more moving illustration of what we were talking about, which is that interlinkage between human rights, economic justice, and development. So really very, very poignant. We heard, friends, earlier from the rights holders. Now it's the turn of the duty bearers. And we've been talking since the beginning of our ceremony today about both progress and also challenges that remain in Kenya's journey to living up to the promise of the Universal Declaration on Human Rights. And so really thrilled that we will now hear from this distinguished panel of duty bearers who together combine very, very many years of deep experience and expertise in different dimensions of public service. As our moderator already said, we have Dr. Bernard Mogesa, who is the Chief Executive Officer of the Kenya National Commission on Human Rights. We have Mr. Evans Okeyo, Head of Investigations from IPOA, the Independent Policing Oversight Authority. We have Mr. We've swapped. I'm going to get it right. We've my sister Roslyn Kabata. We were together just earlier this week with the Chief Justice to launch the report on the state of administration of justice in Kenya. Roslyn is the head of access to justice for vulnerable groups at the National Commission. We have Mheshimiwa Shakil Shabir, who is the MP for Kisumu East, fourth term, Mheshimiwa was telling me earlier on. And last but not least, we have Mr. Osman Mohammed, Director of Public Education from the Commission on the Administrative Justice at the Office of the Ombudsman. So, friends, our previous panel were models of brevity, allowing time for good discussion and allowing time for us to come back for a second and even a third round. So let's do that again. I want to ask you simply two questions as you start, and I will begin with you, Bernard. Can you name for me what you think are one or two landmarks on Kenya's journey to living up to the promise of the Universal Declaration? And then from the perspective of your institution, what you think are the next priorities? To you.
Thank you very much, Your Excellency. What gives us hope as a country and as a commission is that we have a constitution. The Constitution of Kenya 2010, which clearly outlines, the rights, Chapter 4. Now, the question that we need to address here is, to what extent are the duty bearers implementing the provisions of, the articles in that particular constitution? Before this constitution, Your Excellency, some of the challenges we had in the country...
Please do call me Stephen.
Oh, yes.
But thank you.
Okay, Stephen. Was that you could not even talk about human rights. But now with the constitution, we are capable of taking the duty bearers into account of the actions. And I think much of what the commission has done, be it, litigation, for example, to ensure that we redress human rights violations, that has been done courtesy of this particular constitution. The other point is that we have now strengthened the partnerships. And actually you can see, for example, Article 59, the commissions, we work very closely together to ensure that as the defenders of human rights, from the duty bearer perspective, we play our critical role and ensure that everyone accounts for their actions in government, even those who are outside government. The second question which you asked was that what do I see as our priorities? First of all, allow me to say that we have a mandate as a commission to promote and protect human rights. We will still stick to that, but then we'll bring in other emerging, areas. For example, we have not been very keen on, climate change and its impact on the enjoyment of human rights. Looking at the theater that has just left here, I have actually been moved, especially on issues of migration. So we are going to strengthen our programming around, migration rights across board, business and human rights, trade, cross-border, movements of goods and services. These are areas that the Commission will greatly put more impetus on. You realize that the government rolled out the Business and Human Rights Action Plan, and we shall use that action plan to reach out and ensure that the businesses operating in the Republic comply with the UN guiding principles on business and human rights. And so many of them that were covered by the theater that has just left here, I do not need to repeat that.
Thank you so much, Bernard, and you've modeled that concision very, very well. And you've put on the table a couple of issues that I'm pretty certain other panelists are going to pick up. First of all, as we move to Evans from IPOA, talking about that question of the institutions working together, mutually supporting, and then, Bernard, climate change as a rights issue. I was, of course, sitting next to Mheshimiwa, and I saw him preparing his observations. I could see he was already going to go in this direction, so I'll be looking forward to that.
Through an act of parliament, IPOA Act number 35 of 2011, our mandate is to hold the police accountable for the performance of their duty. In doing this, we have key functions under Section 6 of our Act. Number 1 is to investigate police misconduct, including death, serious injuries, and other forms of misconduct. Number 2 is we conduct inspections of police premises, including detention facilities, as well as training institutions. Finally, we also monitor policing operations affecting members of the public. Now, landmark aspects with regard to human rights, yes, a couple of these. Number 1, in terms of welfare of the police, we recently conducted a study with regard to murder and suicide. The findings are very worrying. In fact, we made a finding that we have had 57 cases of suicide by police officers, murder and suicide by police officers conducted within a span of 4 years. That is from 2016 to 2020. There are about 65 cases of murder by police officers against their colleagues and 57 cases of suicide. So on average, we have about 13 murders conducted by police officers against their colleagues, as well as 11 cases of suicide every year, affecting 32 counties. So it's a serious problem. And we are looking at some of the causes of these incidences and, of course, psychological issues. Other issues, probably easy access of firearms. Police officers are allowed to carry firearms to their houses. Even when they're out of duty, you'll find other police officers are still armed. We made a number of recommendations to this in terms of vetting, psychological vetting before, at the point of enlistment. Also enlisting police officers under, programs to ensure they're able to offer psychosocial support among their colleagues. Housing, just to improve their welfare, salary, and many other issues that would address this holistically. In terms of members of the public, through inspections, we've been able to ensure that human rights of all is respected through detention facilities, the welfare of detainees in the police stations. They are well fed. We've also made recommendations for the right tooling of police officers. In terms of monitoring, again, we've monitored a lot of policing operations, including around conduct of general elections, protests, just to ensure that the rights, under the Constitution, the right to protest is protected. Finally, in terms of holding responsible police officers accountable, we've made huge strides. Today, as we speak, the famous Ahmed Rashid was supposed to appear in court to face murder charges. I've just been informed that he was not presented to court, but we have another date. So we hope that next when the matter will come up, he'll be able to answer to the charges. Again, through the support of our partners, for the first time, we recently had 12 senior police commanders arraigned in court to face serious charges under the International Crimes Act. 12 police commanders for the first time in the country facing charges of murder as a crime against humanity, torture as a crime against humanity, as well as rape as a crime against humanity. And this is monumental because going forward, we have victims working with scars of rape. We have had the Baby Pendo family, Stephanie Mora. These are cases that, every election year, we've always had victims of police brutality, and we hope that through such cases, we're able to hold them accountable and deter future occurrence. Thank you very much.
No, thank you very much. I think all of us were incredibly struck by this move for the very first time to prosecute crimes against humanity here in Kenya. It's an incredibly powerful moment for Kenya, but actually for the world as well. So a big hongera sana to everybody that was involved in that. Of course, it's the beginning of the process rather than the end. But thank you for sharing that, Evans. Rosalind, to you, from the perspective of the NCAJ.
Good morning. I hope it's still morning.
Just about.
Good afternoon. I hope you can hear me. Yes. No?
Can you hear?
Can you hear me?
Okay.
Okay. Thank you so much, Daktari, for having me. And I think it's a pleasure for me to be here and be the only woman. But it is okay with me. I'm totally comfortable. My name is Rosalind Kabata, and I'm the head of Department on Access to Justice for Vulnerable Groups at the National Council on the Administration of Justice. And I will begin answering the question by starting with exactly that one of the successes towards fulfillment of human rights and celebration of the Universal Declaration of Human Rights is establishment of the National Council on the Administration of Justice. I can see some of the members of the NCAJ here, And NCAJ is a body that was created under Section 34 of the Judicial Service Act. I like to say that it should not be confused with the judiciary because most of the people think that the NCAJ is the judiciary. NCAJ is a multi-sectoral body that brings together state and non-state actors to find out what the challenges, gaps, and solutions are in the justice system. So we have about 42 agencies that sit in the NCAJ to find solutions towards the problems that are present in the justice system. The chairperson is the Chief Justice, President of the Supreme Court of Kenya, and we call her the chairperson of the NCAJ. The vice chair is the Director of Public Prosecutions, Mr. Nuruddin Haji, and there we also have the Inspector General, the Director of Criminal Investigations, and any justice agency that you can think of. The heads sit at the council. So how the NCAJ works is that we have committees and task forces that look into various issues that are affecting the justice system. We have a committee on sexual and gender-based violence, and the committee is supposed to review the Sexual Offences Act and any laws with regards to gender-based violence. We also have the Standing Committee on the Administration of Justice for Children that is supposed to look into issues to do with children. So we have 6 other committees that are existing in the NCAJ, but one notable one I can say that relates to this panel is the National Committee on Criminal Justice Reforms, and maybe one other notable work is the NCAJ Working Committee on Traffic Offences. So that's how NCAJ works, and we also establish court user committees on the ground. So any court that you know has a court user committee, and that is how NCAJ is mirrored in the community. So the court user committee is a group of the justice agencies within the court station or the jurisdiction that come together to look into issues affecting the community in that jurisdiction. So that is one milestone that I think is very pertinent to Kenya that addresses the issues of human rights. Number 2 is enactment of the Children Act, number 29 of 2022, that was passed in July or assented by the President in July, I think it's 24th this year. And it is such a great achievement because it fulfills Article 53 of the Constitution, which is the rights of the child. And this Children Act, or this law, was pushed by the National Council on the Administration of Justice through the Special Task Force on Children Matters. At the time, it was headed by the Honorable Chief Justice, Lady Justice Martha Koome, and also the National Council for Children's Services, the Directorate of Children's Services, and other state and non-state actors, and we are very happy about this milestone. So under the Children Act, I think one of the issues that has been addressed with regards to human rights is recognition of intersex children, because now they will not be discriminated and they've been identified as a gender in Kenya. In the census, they were marked as the gender marker I, and we saw it fit to have it in the Children Act. So intersex children have been recognized by the law in Kenya, and I think that deserves a clap. Yes. I think one other milestone that we have reached is having the first woman Chief Justice, and I think that also deserves a clap. And she's the Chief Justice, President of the Supreme Court of Kenya, and Chairperson of the NCAJ, which I think is the most powerful body in the country. For the priority areas, I will go quickly. One, we as NCAJ, we will prioritize strengthening the court user committees because we see that this is how we exist in the grassroots, so that we can identify what the issues within the community or the jurisdictions are, especially within the counties, because that's how we get the information up to the policy level, to the heads of the justice system. Number 2 is data collection. Data has been a very big issue in Kenya, and we are looking to make sure that we strengthen that so that we can have evidence-based and strategic interventions, because if you don't have data, then you can't get the resources where they need to be. The other one would be resourcing of the child justice sector. We have a report that we launched during the second annual Child Justice Summit, which was held on 28th. And we launched a report on budget allocation for children in the justice system, where we found out what amount or budget that we need to allocate for children in the justice sector. We are also having a strategy for children in the justice system, which will coordinate all the justice agencies towards administration or enhancing access to justice for children. So those are the priorities and the milestones that I think Kenya has reached with regards to the justice sector. Thank you.
I think it ran out of battery. Yeah, we'll try this one. Thank you so much. You managed to cram a great deal into a short intervention. Milestones, certainly, the very progressive Children's Act that Kenya has adopted. This milestone recognition of intersex, which I think is really a very progressive move and something on which one can build for the rights of LGBTQI more generally. Of course, the appointment of the Chief Justice. And then I also was very taken by this vision in the NCAJ of the different institutions coming together, so very much in the spirit of what Bernard was talking about at the beginning. Thank you. Mheshimiwa, to you, please, the same set of questions, landmarks and priorities.
I am here as a member of parliament, so I represent the legislative. I'm also a chairman of a caucus and member of another. So basically, firstly, the greatest landmark that the legislature has been instrumental in was the Constitution of Kenya. Then thereafter, we spoiled it by changing the Leadership and Integrity Act and whatever else. But that basically is the mainstay. Now, when you're talking about the Children's Act, we know about it. I mean, myself personally and others, we've been working on that for a very long time. The Information Act as well, the other ones which affect human rights, the Eviction and Resettlement Bill, which I personally have been introducing for the last, I see Isaac, I see Houghton there, for the last, I think, 4 parliaments. This is my 4th term, and I promise to bring it back. So those are the sort of things that we feel that perhaps we have still to do. But the issue of human rights, the Bill of Rights, the point is we as the legislature, with the MPs, are responsible to the people. And we're responsible to them to make sure that their rights and their services are provided. So yesterday I was a part of another discussion where somebody brought out the point of horizontal responsibility and vertical and also horizontal. So as much as we are there to ensure that the horizontal, like the commissions and others do their job and are financed, have the capacity to do it by way of budgetary allocations and budgetary support, and then to make sure that it is there. We also are responsible vertically. So vertically, each member of parliament is responsible to his constituents. I was quite thrilled to see the last presentation, because initially I was feeling to myself, well, look, surely International Day for marking the, look, who, where, what, are we just, what are we doing? And we're part and parcel of a few select people and whatever. So that was the initial thought that I had, but I did realize that beyond the surface, the sea is quite deep. So when you are now able to look at that from that point of view, then I think that becomes now a more effective issue. I must sell my wares, as a very capable lady stated just now. I am the chairman of the African Parliamentarians Against Corruption, and I wouldn't have mentioned it, but that presentation that took place here was the actual fact that if services are not provided, why are they not provided? Is it because the government is, or the executive is not doing their job? Is it because the legislature is not doing their job? Is it because the judiciary are not doing their job? Or is it the fourth estate or the fourth player not doing their job? And what are we meant to do about it? So I think corruption causes, it's across the board, whether it's the SDGs and other things. I was going to ask the question, if you go to my constituency, the lady who, the old man and the woman or up in there who is never even uneducated, and you ask them about A, SDGs, or B, the Human Rights Bill of Rights, or they can't tell you anything. They can't. They don't know those 10 tenets. No, they don't. But wanajua haki zetu. You understand me? So since 2002, we know haki yetu. Now, haki yetu is an encompassment of everything. So as far when you ask us what do you think is the landmark for the legislation, the legislator's landmark is that we need to be ever aware, ever ready to listen, ever be able to be approached, and also be the protectors of the Constitution, the Bill of Rights, and push for it at all levels, whether it is with the police and APUA, whether it is at the illegal evictions in Kibos, where we saw our people there, whether it is somewhere else where I saw the defenders of, the protectors of human rights in my constituency. That's where it is. And I think we as the supportive of the members of parliament need to continue to be able to bring these issues to book and to the front. And most appropriately, to be making sure, and I see a colleague of mine used to be in parliament with me, I know her husband very well, that it's our job to ensure that the agencies and the commissions have the ability fiscally to make sure that budget which takes place, we start working on the budget in January. So don't come and tell us in March, in June, July, when the fellows started reading the budget. The budget policy statement starts now. And that's where I was saying to the commissions, etc. Some commissions come to our committees and say, listen, we put our budget here, but look, our budget has been slashed. Like the Commission of Human Rights. I remember I was on that committee, and you went and bought 4-wheel drive vehicles, and we slashed your budget, but you still bought them. So we wondered how would that affect. They were able to come and say, well, so what we're trying to suggest is this, that the legislature, through the caucuses are very much registered and recognized by the Speaker. So like my caucus of anti-corruption or the caucus of SDG, we have been able to work with civil society and other players, come up with something called CESPEN. It's not our job, the civil society's worked on it. It's called the Civil Society Parliamentary Engagement Network. Now what they do, like if a commission needs to push a particular right, like the children's right, there's the other one that's currently Millie Odhiambo is trying to put back on the sexual reproductive. It's gone through so many times. So when you need to push through these things through, we have now on board, and with our new standing orders, etc., we have these caucuses. And these caucuses, we have members mostly through all the committees. So if you want now to be, if let's say civil society or somebody wants to raise an issue, or parliament, anybody, they have to write to the Speaker. The Speaker has to give a notice to the clerk. The clerk will then call the committee chair. The committee chair will call a committee meeting, and they will decide that we are going to meet this guy at this time or this time. It takes 6-7 months just for that meeting. What you can do through the caucus is you get in touch with the caucus, and the caucus identifies the right person. And my brother Isaac Mauro used to be there. Rungu, of course, knows how to do this. Not how to do this, how we can utilize this. So we are saying that we as the legislature wish and continue to express our desire to be more reachable and to be more effective and work with the societies and with the groups on human rights and anti-corruption, SDGs, etc.
Thank you so much, Mheshimiwa. That was a very eloquent description of what it means to bear a duty, to be a duty bearer. So thank you for that, and thank you for reminding us that that is both a horizontal and a vertical duty. So thank you so much. So we'll come last to Osman, and again, same question, landmarks and priorities.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. First, I want to thank the organizers of this meeting for this wonderful session. Indeed, I say one of the milestones is to have this meeting and to have this candid conversation on matters to do with human rights. I represent the Commission on Administrative Justice. It is CAJ, without N. Yeah, there is NCAJ and there is CAJ. And the mandate of the Commission is twofold, broadly. One is to hold all the public agencies, both at the national and the county government, accountable in dealing with matters to do with maladministration. And you'll realize that all the things that we have been talking about, violations of human rights or corruption, have their basis on the breeding ground is maladministration, what we call maladministration. Maladministration, in simple terms, is matters to do with delays. And I think you have seen the boys try to demonstrate here. Delay in giving a service can lead to death, like the young baby who died, isn't it? Delay.
Yeah, yes.
Yeah? So that is what the Commission is established to address. Matters to do with maladministration in the public sector. That is one broad mandate of the Commission. And it is good for me to state that, and we thank Mheshimiwa and parliamentarians and the Kenyans for entrenching this commission in the Constitution and in the law, because the first time the commission was proposed, the Office of the Ombudsman was proposed to be established in Kenya is in 1974. You realize that there are a lot of complaints against government and government officers. And the citizens have nowhere to turn to. Where do you go if you are unsatisfied with government service delivery, abuse of power, discourtesy, ineptitude? Where do you turn to? So that office was first recommended through a presidential commission in 1974, but it never saw the light of the day. It was only entrenched in 2010 and established through an act of parliament in 2011. And since inception, it's good to state that we have received over 200,000 complaints against government agencies. 200,000, touching on matters that are very fundamental to human rights and provision of basic services. For instance, matters to do with acquisition of land. You want to own a land as a citizen, it's your right. But how long does it take for the relevant department to process for you to have the ownership document? You will want to document, to register as a Kenyan, you need to be registered. Yeah, citizenship, birth certificate, death certificates, passport, which are fundamental documents. And it's a government agency that processes these kind of documents. How long do they take? We have seen numerous complaints, particularly from communities in the arid and semi-arid and within the borders, where the government agencies use the excuse of saying this matter is under vetting. Vetting for how long? This is a citizen, he wants to, is a youth who wants to get his documents so that he can get employment. So how long does it take for him to be vetted? We have seen cases that run into years, 6 years. We have seen cases even where government officers, this is a government official, he has applied for passport to go to travel out of the country, but it is reading on the portal that it is under vetting. He's a government official, but under vetting. So these are the discussions that we have with government agencies, and we have tried to address, out of the 200,000 we have resolve about 80% of those. Our finding is that we still have a problem of unresponsiveness within the public sector. I mean, government officials still do not realize that they are there to serve efficiently the citizens. They think they are bosses when they are not, isn't it? So we still have a great deal of problems within the public sector, which the Commission, and we thank that it was established, is trying to address so that Kenyans are able to get services from government efficiently and effectively without necessarily paying for them through bribes or through cronies or knowing someone. You are entitled to these services, and they are supposed to get. The other broad mandate of the Commission is, and this was given to it by Parliament, and Mheshimiwa Shabir is here, and to enforce access to information, oversight and enforce access to information within, by the public sector agencies. And this is quite central to promotion of good governance and fundamental promotion and protection of human rights. So far, Parliament passed, from 2016, passed an Act of Parliament, Access to Information Act 2016, and gave the Commission a mandate to enforce and oversee implementation of that act. We have so far received more than 350 cases of Kenyans, of citizens, of civil society groups who have requested for information from a government agencies, but they were denied. With no reason, no sufficient reason. Yeah?
Yeah. If I can invite you just to wind up. So
Yes. So they are denied this access to information. So the Commission is there to make sure that citizens are able to access information that government holds through two main ways: proactive disclosure and reactive disclosure. Proactive is where the government is required by law through that act to proactively disclose this information, and we are making progress in this. We have, in the counties, we have entrenched the culture of accessing information in the county governments by ensuring the county governments appoint access to information officers whom we have trained. We have 46 counties that have access to information officers, and we have also 36 county assemblies that have so far established access to information officers within their respective county assemblies. We have also, at the national level, we have trained 323 ministries, departments, and agencies so that we promote the culture of resolving complaints, what we call complaints handling mechanism at their level before those complaints come to the Commission. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Osman. I'm struck across all 5 of the interventions that the challenge really is to safeguard the rights by persuading government, the legislature, the institutions, that they serve at the pleasure of the people and that they serve the people and not the other way around. I think that's a very strong common theme that came through. And then I also, as I invite the audience just to think, I think we've time for 2 or 3 short questions, so get your questions ready. Very struck also by what you said, that the ability to have candid conversations like this about rights in a public place is actually a very, very precious and fragile thing. It's not everywhere on the continent that one can do that. It's not everywhere around the world that one can do that. So I think we should be very proud of Kenya, even as we recognize the work that remains to be done. So I see 2 questions there and 1 question there. So we'll go to the gentleman in the blue shirt, the lady in red, and the lady over here with the, is it Masai or Samburu? I'm sorry, Ambassador, we'll come to you last then. Very good. As briefly as you can, please, friends. Thank you. And
Sure.
please introduce yourself.
Okay, thank you so much. My name is Edwin Birech. I'm a human rights defender. but also working for Transparency International Kenya. We all know that corruption affects the enjoyment of human rights. It actually distorts, policies, and even the allocations of funds that are meant towards the enjoyment of the right to approach. So my question will be directed to Dr. Mogesa, and this relates to the human rights-based approach on corruption. But I do understand that human rights-based approach is a signature tool for the Kenya National Commission on Human Rights. What is actually done by Kenya National Commission on Human Rights in incorporating the aspect of corruption as a mechanism towards the enjoyment of human rights in Kenya?
Thank you, Edwin. And then to your sister. Yep.
Is it morning or is...
Afternoon, I think just.
Good afternoon. My name is Nasieku from Kajiado. I'm a human rights defender and also the Kajiado coordinator of Women, Peace and Security. I had to write my questions. I had 2 questions. Please allow me.
Super brief,
yes,
please.
To NCAJ and IPOA. What is NCAJ doing to streamline CUC composition in the counties with human rights? Because the experience some human rights defenders have is worrying. There have been complaints by human rights defenders of ejections in the past of vocal human rights defenders from CUCs. Is it that core ground veto is different and the judiciary doesn't want strong comments from human rights defenders? Do they just want flowery affairs and sugarcoating human rights issues or what? The other question is to IPOA. Noting that insecurity and conflict is also a violation, leads to a violation of human rights, what is IPOA doing to ensure the police understand that citizens don't have to choose between insecurity and extrajudicial killings? Looking at the rates of crime now in the country, it's clear that the police have neglected citizens simply because they have called for an end in extrajudicial killings. Can't we have both? Can't we create a balance between the two of them?
Thank you so much, Nasieko. We'll come over to my sister here.
Thank you very much. My name is Esther Nganga. I am a police officer. I am also an advocate of the High Court, and I'm also a teacher. I'm really excited to be here. Currently, I am working in the Internal Affairs Unit as a deputy director, and therefore, I am really glad to be here. I have a comment and then a question. My comment is that for me, from where I stand, I think police officers are really supposed to be #1 human rights defenders because they really protect our life and property. And also, when I was looking at the infotainment, I was looking at those police officers who are acting, and it was really, really sad. I had one of them comment and say, "Wacha niue huyu ndio nipate promotion." And I'm here to confirm that that is no longer the case. I think a lot has been done in terms of the progress we have done, in terms of police accountability. I think we are all aware, IPOA is there, external accountability, but also in terms of internal accountability. We have done a lot, and you also have heard about the work we are doing in the Internal Affairs Unit. The case that we have in court right now against the Special Service Unit, the SSU, we are doing a lot, and we are just trying to ensure that we express this to the members of public. The Internal Affairs Unit and the National Police Service, we are there to tell our police officers to work and to work professionally. Now, my question is this. In terms of building partnerships, when the duty bearers, for example, police officers and even us in the Internal Affairs Unit, when we do some work and we do it well, how can we encourage the duty bearers? Because we know, even as I was looking at the issues of human rights, the issues of housing, the poverty levels, police officers in Kenya actually can fall part of that. So how do we encourage even the duty bearers, for example, police officers and the Internal Affairs Unit? Because we have seen sometimes they do some good work, but then instead of being told you're doing some good work, we have seen again people being told, like for example the unit, that you can't do this kind of work, instead of being encouraged so that we can continue working together for the interest of justice in the in Kenya. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Esther. And last but not least, we'll go to Ambassador in the front row.
Thank you very much. My name is Gabriela Martinique, and I'm the ambassador of Argentina. First of all, I would like to commend Kenya's people and authorities for the tremendous work put already in the human rights field. We as Argentina, we know from experience how hard it is, and we are currently chairing the Human Rights Security Council in Geneva. So my question, very briefly, is I heard a lot about wonderful work you're doing in terms of reacting, let's say, to human rights issues. I wonder what are the plans for also prevention and also raising awareness among people regarding the Charter. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, and what an excellent question to finish us on. So let me do a little bit of chairing here and steering, if I may. I'm going to direct each question to one of you, and also ask you, and to be very brief, any final thoughts that you may have. So we're only going to have this round, but please do be brief. So Osman, perhaps I can start by asking you to address that question about how, and this was the question from Esther, how can we encourage duty bearers to come together more to build partnerships to promote human rights?
Yeah, thank you. I think I quite agree. The issue of partnership is key in promotion of good governance. And already, us in the governance sector, the Commission on Administrative Justice, we have robust partnership with institutions and agencies within the governance sector, like the Transparency International. We have a partnership with community groups. Indeed, it's important to have partnership that goes beyond institutions, that transcend into the community members and community organizations. And we have, in this instance, for instance, at CAJ, we have done something we call Ombudsman Mashinani, where we have engagement with all the informal settlements within the urban areas, where we sit and then we form committees that we meet biannually, so that we train them, and they're able now to be the actors between the Ombudsman Office and the community groups that we have. So it's already happening. All we need to do is to enhance it. It's already there, and maybe to have a framework for it. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, and thank you for being very concise. Mheshimiwa, you had already mentioned the question of corruption, and you chair the APAC. Can I ask you to address Edwin's question on corruption, as well as any other points you want to make?
Well, we work with Edwin very closely. TI and APNAC were founded together over 20 years ago. So that is a partnership that we are working with the civil society. Our concern on corruption is very much part and parcel of the human rights, the human requirements and the human rights. So where is it grand corruption? Where does it end? What elements are we taking? How is the executive dealing with certain issues? How is the legislature dealing with those issues? And where tomorrow is the World Anti-Corruption Day. I am cynical on these world days, because we go, and I think even the Anti-Corruption Day tomorrow is at the School of Management, School of Government somewhere. But the people don't get to understand what it is. And there's the same thing I will say about the human rights. We know what they are, but I think they have to get to the grassroots. And it's our job, mine specifically, yours, others, to bring it to the grassroots. There was a time our Kenyan civil service was one of the best in the world, in India and others. We seem to have lost that particular desire. But lately, not lately, in the last few years, I have gone to the income tax department. I've renewed my license without having to go and bribe anybody. I've gone to renew my passport. I've gone to Huduma Center. So what we have to do in Kenya is accentuate the positive.
Yes.
What we refuse to do in Kenya is we accentuate always the negative. So when you're looking at the positive, I also spent, 35 years ago, I was also a reserve police officer, so I understand that system. And I've been very close with the police system. So when you are now bringing the issues of the police are the most corrupt, and the politicians, and after them, the judges and all that. The question that we ask is, those police officers, I have seen them living in squalid conditions. And what are we going to do? How are we going to sort that out? Are they going to get paid? So the current government has said we are going to pay our police officers well. We are going to pay our key people on the ground well, so that, if my child is hungry for 5 days, I don't know about human rights, my brother.
Yes.
I don't know about SDGs. I don't know anything. I know my child is sick. Tomorrow, if I've got to hit someone over the head to get his money, I'll do so.
Yeah.
But I think, as we said, we are, I'm not a very religious guy at all, but I do believe that we are, half of us is evil and half of us is good. It is dependent on you, how you get up in the morning, and what you do, and what acts you do when you are giving strength to the good half to take over, and the evil things move along. So I think that is basically what we need to do. Our job individually is to do the best that we can. You know that our famous Nobel Peace Prize, I've forgotten, hummingbird issue. We must do the best that we can. Wangari Maathai. So we must do the best that we can, and we continue to do that, and we continue to see the strength that we have. I was in Juba not long ago, and then you realize, I've been to other countries, you realize where we are. Kenya is not bad. I want to say one thing. In 2007, I stood for Parliament in Kisumu. I personally collected 89 bodies. Personally, the cases that we went to ICC, and some were based upon the post-mortem reports that we gave. We've just come through the 2022 election. Nothing.
Yes.
And in Kisumu, we expected a lot.
Yes.
But we said, tumechoka, meaning we are saying, let us now give people the opportunity. And I would like to state this today. There is a new government in place. We are giving you that opportunity. Do what you can do within the requirements that we have set for you. And we will give you the free hand to do that.
Yeah.
I'm an independent, so I can say that. But what we are doing as members of Parliament, we must work with the people's chosen executive, the people's chosen legislature, and the other, judiciary and others. I want to say one thing, however, and I want to finish with this one. We sometimes wonder, we have no idea. You see, the people on the ground, like when we talk about corruption, we are like Caesar's wife, you're meant to be beyond reproach. But when you look at the current cabinet, are they beyond reproach? Can I go to Isaac, what's her name, Mrs. Juma? Can I go to her and with a free heart and know that we are going to get that, although there is a taint somewhere? In the British, Westminster Parliament, one of the majority leader came late, 2 minutes late or 1 minute late, when the Prime Minister's statement, he resigned. Here we are saying, I'd rather die than resign. Those are the sort of challenges that we still have, and we must work on. But we are I'll also throw the gauntlet to the executive and say that, listen, and the judiciary, when all these cases are now coming through, and those who are in the justice, did you charged these people wrongly? Was our judiciary taken hostage? Was our legislature taken hostage? Was part of our executive taken hostage? Now it's time for us to clean these things and say, do we have confidence in the judiciary as we see it? Yeah. Do we have confidence in the executive ministers as we see them? So those are the only challenges we have. Thank you.
Thank you so much, and thank you already for going to Ambassador's question also about how we make sure that human rights are understood at the most humble of levels. I think you already said wanajua haki zetu, but we do need to keep working on that connection, do we not? Rosalind, could I ask you, in your final thoughts, to address the first of Nasieku's questions about the county level, because I think that that's, of course, crucial in the context of devolution.
So thank you, Nasieku, for raising your question. We haven't had that complaint at NCAJ, and I would wish to ask you to write to NCAJ. I can share the contacts so that you can write to us. It's ncaj@court.go.ke. So that you can write to us so that we can find a solution for what happened. One, to address your question, is that the court user committees have guidelines, and they have a list of the members who should be in the court user committee. One of the challenges that we've been having, even at the national level, is that we don't know who coordinates CSOs. We don't know who coordinates NGOs. We don't know who coordinates FBOs. And one of the challenges we have really in the justice system is identifying partners, especially in the counties. So all these CBOs, FBOs, NGOs, CSOs, they are getting so much funding, but we don't know where this funding is going, because we haven't identified or mapped out where they exist and what they are doing. So that's one of the challenges we are having, because we can't identify who is where and doing what. And I don't know how any of the partners here can help to map out all the NGOs in the country, all the CSOs, all the FBOs, and identify where they're getting their funding and what are they doing. Because I know Kenya is getting a lot of funds for so many interventions, but when you go to the counties and even the CUCs, you find that sometimes, like we were having the Children Service Month in November, because we call it the Children's Service Month. And most of the courts write to NCAJ to support them. And NCAJ really depends on a lot of partner support. So we ask them to look for the partners within their jurisdiction. And most of them come back to us and say, we don't have any partners. So that's one of the questions that we've been having. Sorry. Mm-hmm. So we have specialized CUCs like the SGBV Court User Committee and the Children Court User Committees, and they have guidelines, and we have to identify who's supposed to sit there, because we can't have like 50 people or 100 people in the CUCs. And one of the ways that the CUC can address this in ensuring that everybody is engaged and contributes is having those public engagements so that you can voice out what the issues are. My parting shot. My parting shot would be, we must not tire to ensure that access to justice is enhanced. I know there are so many efforts that everybody makes, and I was talking to someone before this at tea, and he was expressing that they're in Kisumu and Nairobi and Mombasa, and I said, that's all you need to do. That just a little effort that you're making makes a huge, huge difference in the country. And I'm very happy to be here, and thank you so much, Dr. for having me.
No, thank you so much, and I think that parting shot of yours speaks to the challenge for all of us over the coming year, really to use this opportunity of the 75th birthday to keep bolstering and strengthening rights, and keep bolstering and strengthening the knowledge of rights. So thank you very much, Rosalind. Evans, Nasieku had a direct question to you. Do we have to accept the choice, this uncomfortable choice, either between insecurity or extrajudicial executions? And then any parting shot that you have. Oh, I think that's not. Did I?
Yeah, okay, I got it. Thank you very much, Stephen. And thanks, Nasieku, for your question.
I do agree that insecurity and conflict is a violation of human rights. I quite agree with you. But let me say this. The National Police Service, or the police as we generally call them, are allowed to use force under the law, and there are provisions with regard to how that force is supposed to be exercised. There's proportionality, necessity, and many other aspects. That said, the police are also equipped, and they're given firearms, there are batons, and beyond that, there are laws guiding how they're supposed to use the equipment that they have. And therefore, they are allowed to, they are and the core function of the police is to maintain law and order, right? And therefore, the insecurity should not really arise. It would therefore be an offense where a police officer fails to perform their core function. And that is why we have the Internal Affairs unit of the police, and that is why we also have IPOA. That said, and we have Mheshimiwa here, it is also important that we have the right tooling and equipment for the police, and more particularly in security-prone areas where we have banditry. It is also wrong to have bandits kill our police officers, and we are asking that police officers deployed in such areas have the right equipment and tooling. And we're also making recommendations, and we keep making recommendations that in the new age where we are, it is important that the police also transforms and adopt a human rights approach to policing, and that's why we are talking about community policing, where we bridge that gap between the police and the community. Intelligence-led policing, as opposed to having special units going out to execute. They need to be, ahead of the criminals and get the right intelligence and protect the right of Kenyans. Finally, under Article 244, the police are required to observe the highest standard of discipline and professionalism in the performance of their function, and therefore, nothing more, nothing less. I know there have been cases of, a rise in cases of mugging just because we have arraigned 1 or 2 police officers in court. I mean, there's no evidence to show that there has been a rise. And if that is the case, then, we just everyone needs to do their work. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Evans. And so, Bernard, finally to you, as you give us your parting shot, can I invite you, on behalf of the Commission, because you're perhaps the principal organ for this, to pick up Ambassador's question about how we use this opportunity of the coming year to promote prevention, but also to deepen awareness of the Universal Declaration and, of course, the rights that flow from it in a Kenyan context.
Thank you very much. Let me begin with the first one, and again, which was asked by the Ambassador of Argentina. Some of the ways we are, as a Commission, we have adopted to increase awareness on human rights through trainings, through various, modalities of delivery. We are now able to reach out to institutions of higher learning like universities, where we have, started programs and with content in human rights. We have also reached to other institutions of learning on the same, in a very, very systematic manner, where we even support the development of, training curriculum and training manuals as well. The Commission was very instrumental, secondly, in the competence-based curriculum, the new curriculum of government, where now human rights content has been mainstreamed in the primary schools per se. And the Commission will continue working with the Kenya Institute of Curriculum Development to ensure that we have human rights content in the higher grades in our school programs. And we envision a situation where this can be expanded and embraced by all universities in the Republic, both private and public, and we are building, MOUs with quite a number of universities. Again, trainings of paralegals, training of human rights defenders is priority for us. Civic education to the right holders is very central to us. Training of, police officers has been very central to us. Now, in terms of prevention, I think we need to work on a culture of human rights in the Republic. That can be very central in terms of the prevention, of any human rights violations. So if we inculcate, for example, this from our children as they grow, and of course us as adults, having a mindset changed, having our attitudes changed towards, protecting the rights of others and ensuring that we embrace the responsibilities that come with human rights. I believe this one will be very, very key to us. But also most important, because this cannot be done, for example, by the National Human Rights Commission alone. We have players here, civil society organizations who are doing a fantastic job out there. So if we hold each other's hand and ensure that we drive the human rights agenda across board, that will be very significant going forward. My parting shot.
Your parting shot.
Yes, I want to anchor this on the question that was raised about HRBA and say that as a commission, we would, as the Kenya Kwanza, government manifesto takes shape, we will, as a commission, endeavor to support and ensure that the human rights principles and the standards are embraced as they implement this particular manifesto, and that's very, very important. And then finally, on the question of HRBA in corruption, what I can say is that we already do have the integrated public complaints referral mechanism, which has currently a membership of 54 institutions. IPOA, you are there, CAJ, you are there, and National Gender Equality Commission are there, Anti-Corruption Commission is there, EACC. So we use this platform to ensure that if there are any complaints coming where we are not on the ground, they can be channeled to the commission. And within this, we are embracing the human rights-based approach to ensure that we tackle the issues of corruption and other human rights violations that are reported to us. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Ladies and gentlemen, I know we've run long, but it was a really profound panel, I think. I want to thank everybody for it. I wish we could indeed have had more time for the discussion, but I think we've heard a great deal about how we can progress the work of the important duty bearers under the Kenyan Constitution. And we look forward to that opportunity in the coming year as we celebrate 75 years of the Declaration. So, asanteni.
Thank you very much. I will request that you all stand so that we can applaud and acknowledge the excellent panel that Dr. Stephen was moderating. I think it has been excellent. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. You can take your seats as Javan does only one number, and the Commissioner, Ms. Bonaya, will be giving us the vote of thanks. So we are here for another 4 minutes or 6, even as Javan comes, and the vote of thanks follows. Sound engineer, ongeza volume kidogo.
As we close the session, I know we are coming up to the very end of 16 days of activism, and we must celebrate our women, the women who stand strong for us, our mothers, sisters, and grandmothers. This last piece is dedicated to them. Sound.
Sound engineer, some volume on the keyboard and the drums. Sound engineer. Makamawe mereplace shangwe na kilio, mnyama mazingira kupelekwa kichinjio, Julandu give back to food na minds imekuwa too full. Ni mchezo wa wanasiasa kutufull, wanajua outcome si fun, environment imehang, legs kwa stool, call si cool, call si cool, call si cool. Let's stand up and dance to this. This is for our mamas. Mama nangi mimi ya nyakaweri, 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 mama nangi mimi ya nyakaweri. Chonchon kadongo toneni mia leo ni chonchon kadongo toneni mia chiemo, chonchon kadongo toneni mia tuno. Hey, chonchon kadongo toneni mia leo ni chonchon kadongo toneni mia tuno, chonchon kadongo toneni mia chiemo. To onge kato die chieng achiel mi paro weya, to onge kato die chieng achiel mi paro weya, to onge kato die chieng achiel mi paro weya, to onge kato die chieng achiel mi paro weya. Gima neno wachoni, gima neno timoni, gima neno wachona, gimaneno timona ber duto. To dance kidogo for our mamas. Let's dance. Gimaneno wachoni, gimaneno timoni, gimaneno wachona, gimaneno timona ber duto. Hey, to dance. Mama nangi mimi anyakaweri. Mama nangi mimi anyakaweri. Mama nangi mimi anyakaweri. Mama nangi mimi anyakaweri. Chonchon kadongo toneni mia leuni. Chonchon kadongo toneni mia. Chonchon kadongo toneni mia leuni. Chonchon kadongo toneni mia leuni. Chonchon kadongo toneni mia. Chonchon kadongo toneni mia leuni. To onge kato die chieng' achiel miparo weya. 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 Let's clap to our mamas. To all the strong women all over the world, this is dedicated to you. Thank you very much. Javan, the poet.
Commissioner, please come. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you very much for this opportunity. And I would want to start by thanking all the partners who have made this very great event possible. And in particular, I would want to thank the UN agencies and the government of Kenya for working hand in hand to be able to make this great event a success. I would also want to thank the diplomatic community, members of the diplomatic community present here today, and for their various contributions towards making human rights agenda a success in the country, because this is just one event, but it's culmination of the many activities and support that they have given over the years. The CSOs and the human rights defenders also did a big role. Most of them even sacrificed their own personal resource, and they took great risk to be able to make, to give these different services among the community members. And they have done a great job. And during this meeting, we have shared great experiences. We've had very positive contributions. Human rights, yes, there are numerous challenges in human rights field, in the human rights arena, but there are also great strides, thanks to our new constitution, and thanks to the institutions that have made it possible that we comply with the United Nations principles on human rights. Yes, the issues of human rights violations in informal sectors has come out very, very clearly, and this issue needs to be addressed. And we can't leave it only to CSOs and human rights defenders. It's quite a huge task, as we have had. And I think it is upon the government as key duty bearer to be able to provide adequate budget as well as facilitation to those ones on the ground, especially by devolving the human rights officers and other oversight independent commission officers, so that they work hand in hand to ensure that human right is protected. So the oversight space is actually quite constrained, so we need to budget adequately, and that we have a whole list of all the many partners. Thank you all. I can't mention everybody by name. So I'd like to, especially the MP, Member of Parliament, and other government officials here, you have a huge responsibility, because our partners actually have done a huge, they have given us huge support, and as key duty bearers, we need to take our space and be able to support the human rights agenda in our country. So thank you very much. All the organizers, the youth groups who have performed here, and all the different players, the facility where we are doing our activity, very beautiful, and I think this is my second time here. So I would want to thank everybody, and above all, I would want to thank God for this opportunity. Thank you.
Commissioner, you can just stand there. We do the anthem. I think we can all rise and do the anthem together, and then we'll conclude.
E Mungu nguvu yetu,
Thank you so much, all of you, and Commissioner, for the vote of thanks. Asante.